All right. Good night.
Are
Good
you gonna
night. Good
hang out
night.
for
Good
after
night.
hours? You want to do a little after hours?
I'm going to sleep. Fuck you.
Really?
I am way too tired. I'm ripped. I'm done. I'm gone. Good night. I'm done. Good night. See you folks Sunday.
You sure?
3 p.m.
Are you
3
sure?
p.m. Eastern time,
What's your
12
favorite
noon
kind of
Pacific.
steak?
Good night.
What's your favorite kind of steak? Favorite kind of steak?
My steak?
Yeah, favorite steak.
T-bone or T-bone New York or filet mignon.
Ugh, that's like truck stop steaks.
Good night. Hey,
How do
we're
you
at a
like?
truck stop. See ya.
What's your favorite kind of sides for a steak?
Good night. Stop asking me fucking questions.
I
Good night.
just. What's your favorite kind of
Mashed potatoes, applesauce.
applesauce? What are you 5?
Yeah. Restart. Bye.
No, I'm still talking. Oh, there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Perry was having some struggles getting the costume off. he was not happy. Not happy at all. So he said, I just called real quick to check in, and I was like, hey, have a good night. And he was like, do not call me tomorrow. I don't want to hear your voice until Sunday. Okay, I don't even know if I want to do the stream on Sunday with all your after hours bullshit. I was like, all right, so might become a problem. Is David at a Lifetime movie? No, David, I think it was a network TV. I want to. I think it was NBC. I think it was NBC. I think David was NBC. I wouldn't seek it out. It's very. It was not good. It's a kind of feel good, made for TV movie that Bobby Heenan could sink his teeth into. That's good. Yeah, Johnny Pretzels. Can I take us? Can I take you through the moments just after Wednesday's stream went offline? Um, yes. Um, so he shut the computer down, and I was in the thing like number one. My throat was killing me on really Tuesday and Wednesday, but it was like I knew I wasn't gonna if I was gonna do any after hours stuff. I just felt like it was such a hot ending that it was just good to go out and not come back. At least not me. And I was on the phone with him too, and I had it was right on the line. Had that thing where I was gonna put him on speakerphone and let you guys hear it, but I just thought it was better to just go out like that, like a really hot ending, which we hadn't had. And yet, Chach, I am feeling better. Thanks. Yeah, I just have this thing in my throat where it's like, it's not like a sore throat. Like a sore throat, it's like a physical neck pain. It's hard to explain. So I was told last week that I had to rest my voice. And of course, I did like a 6 hour after hours on Sunday, which I'm not doing tonight, by the way. But anyway, in answer to your question, yeah, he was super hot. He was like, watching it back, um, and what I mean the watermelon explosion. Um, he had a perfect delayed reaction to it, like slightly delayed. Like like he was, I think he was in shock because the thing blew out his head, and then his head blew off his hat, and he was like, "What the fuck?" And then it took him a couple of beats to get like to realize what happened, and he's like, "Motherfucker," and just went crazy. Then we went through what we went through on the stream. You saw it, and then every now and again, and this is very Perry. Like he watched the video back, like he watched the replay back, and he'd smile at it for a moment and be mildly amused, and then realize what it implied, like watermelon all over the place, and then he'd get instantly mad. So he'd have the smirk on his face watching it, and then realize what happened, and like, we're done, and then go into that whole thing. So then, right after we ended, when he reshot, he was like, "Fuck my," he was just screaming and screaming and screaming. Um, just really hardcore, like, "Fuck you." This stream was over, by the way. "There's no more streams. I am done. I don't care anymore." And he doesn't think things through, but he was like, "I am done. We are done." I got a good voicemail the next day that I'll post. I'm having a hard time right now with the service I use for the voicemails, like that I use for my voicemails, because I pay for this service that lets you, like, you can leave a 10-hour voicemail if you want to on this thing. But I'm having a hard time getting it off, so I can't get in touch with sports, so I got to really figure that out, because there's a bunch of backlogged Patreon voicemails that I need to upload going back a couple of weeks now. But anyway, so he was going off. The shop vac did come out while I was on the phone, and then he hung up on me a couple of times. I called back, and he was like, "This is over. It's over. Over, over, over." The whole typical thing. So he was just he was not happy. So it was basically him yelling at me, talking to himself, and then I would just kind of hang back and listen to him, and then he'd forget I was on the phone. And then I'd say something like, "Hey, Perry, why don't we..." "Yeah, shut the fuck up, motherfucker! I don't want to hear your fucking voice! I don't want to hear your fucking voice!" Like, really. "It's on my ceiling! Motherfucker, it's on... How the fuck am I gonna get that off my ceiling?" It was like, "It's on my chair! It's on the fucking couch! It's everywhere, you motherfucker!" It was just like, "You did this! You did this! You did this!" And I was like, "I didn't do anything. I'm not the one who sent it. I'm not even the one who came up with it." And he was just like, "You did it all! You did it all, you motherfucker!" It was, oh my God. So anyway, I'm doing the best version of it I can. And I don't ever like to leave off where he just hates my guts, but it was tough because it was just... I wanted to go to bed, and yeah, it was just like, "I gotta clean up another fucking mess," and it was just, fuck. So yeah, it was just he was pissed, and he was pissed all day yesterday, all day Thursday, up until he informed me. Like, he was ignoring my text messages. Either that or he had his phone off. And then he said he was going out to dinner and see... Like, it's funny. He always treats himself... Whenever he goes through a hard day like that, he always... Like, the next day, he always treats himself to a nice dinner. So he decided he went, like, seafood. And then he went to King of Crabs, which is crazy. And yeah, so anyway, it was really good. It was a good, and it's like, man, I remember, and I was talking to Joey a lot after the stream, and I was really congratulating him because really that's his baby. Like, Joey came up with the watermelon idea, and really a combination between Joey and Miss Alchemy, because Miss Alchemy is the one who sent the rubber bands, those really good rubber bands, the heavy duty ones, because I think that's what put it over the top. And they came late on Wednesday, And then he went out to get them from the Amazon locker during the stream, and I think that's what put it over. So Miss Alchemy deserves a lot of credit for that, but Joey deserves all the credit. And it was one of those things, and I had this conversation too with Joey where the stream was ending, and that thing was it was like splitting open, and it was like leaking all over the place, and I was just like, oh, this isn't gonna go, you know. And I was like, it's a bust. This is kind of a bust. And in a weird way, I was bummed out because it was like our first big bust, where this wasn't gonna happen. It just wasn't. This thing wasn't gonna go. And I had tried to get him to do the drum roll, the VIP drum roll. I tried to extend that as long as possible, where he's banging. I thought it was going to go then. I thought it was going to go when he was throwing it up in the air, and it wasn't going. And I was like, this, he just didn't do it right. We didn't use the right rubber bands. He didn't have it centered with the rubber bands, and it's just not going to work. It's a bust. And it's a bummer to go out on a bust like that, because PCL's never done that. PCL, there are times where he doesn't go for certain things, but we've never had a big level bust. And then, all of a sudden, the Gina tip comes in, which, you know, was Perry, please hug this and pretend it's me. And that was put in by Joey as well. And then all of a sudden, boom. I mean, and in the most spectacular way. I mean, knocks his hat off. And it was just unbelievable. And then I had this thing that came into me. I was like, oh, hang on a second. PCL doesn't do busts. We don't do busts on PCL. Now I'm saying this could be famous last words, but we don't do busts here, and I mean we, all of us. We don't do busts. PCL does not go out like that. We were not going off until that thing blew up, and I think that's why there's so many people on. I got so many messages the next day, being like, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I normally can't hang that late on the stream, but I did not want to go to sleep and miss the watermelon. I had to be there live. And there's a certain kind of street cred to be able to say that you were on live and saw it live. And there was also a lot of people like, God damn, I went to sleep. He was low energy. I didn't think it was going to happen. And I went to sleep. And, you know, whatever. It's so if there is a God, he has to be a Perry Caravello live fan. You know, it was just great. It was just perfect. It was just perfect. Yeah, the melon steak I thought was going to work. It didn't. There was so many things, and I was just getting. It was towards the end because like all the comments had been played, and I was trying to stretch things out, but I was like, and it wasn't gonna last until Friday. It wasn't gonna last, so I was just like, well, maybe this pops a little bit during the night. It's gonna be such a downer because especially it was built up now over 3 streams. It started last Friday, went into Sunday, then into Wednesday, and if it didn't pop like that, it just wasn't going to work. So I did get bummed, and then I realized, hey, you know what? I got a little cocky with the PCL. I was like, yeah, we don't do busts at PCL. This is of course it worked. And you know, as far as Joey goes, I told him this, but I was like, hey, look, you know what? We were in the bottom of the 9th. It was 2 out, and you know, everybody's waiting to go home, and Gina steps up to the plate and smacks a grand slam, because that's what it was. It was a grand slam. So it just worked out, and it could have not worked out in so many different ways, but it did, and all credit to Joey and Gina for that. It was just amazing. It was just great, and I. Again, I was just I didn't want to talk over anything because I first of all I was in tears. I was dying. You know, people always ask me, "Are there any things you laugh at?" And it's funny. I almost heard it before I saw it, and I just was like, boom! It was just like this geyser that went off, and it was great. Yeah, and it could have hit his head, right? And it could have like hurt him a little bit. I mean, because that thing shot up to the ceiling. But what a great way to end it. So anyway, it was there. Then you think that you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh, that was good. And then you go like, yeah, but now there's another stream on Friday. What do we do? What do we do on Friday? How are you going to top that? You're not going to top that, but, it was just, you know, But I that again, like tonight, like the Humpty Dumpty outfit worked out better than I thought it would because he looked so much better in it than I pictured. And it was just great. And again, he did promise to open up on Sunday on the wall. I don't think he's going to remember that, but I'll try to make that happen. No guarantees. But Joey, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Miss Alchemy sent the Humpty Dumpty suit as well, so she's really really done some great stuff. But yeah, so anyway, that's how it was from my end on the phone with him. But, yeah, so that was, and then tonight, and then also I thought I didn't know how the King of Crabs thing was going to work because he did have a good experience in there last night, and I felt weird that we were on such bad terms with them because I don't know, like I didn't want fans to be like rude to them or like leave bad reviews because that's not cool. So the fact that they were cool, that was last night and gave him a free meal. I thought was great. So I didn't want to push any buttons tonight, but I think that worked out really well. And then him meeting the fan in 7-Eleven was great. That was amazing. And no, and Wario is still the best costume for me. I don't think this topped Wario for me. Wario is going to be my personal favorite. I mean, I don't see that getting topped, but he looked really good in that Humpty Dumpty tonight, and especially when somebody said he looked like William Shakespeare when he had the top off. That was great. Face cam coming soon. Yes, probably. Yeah. Again, I talked about this Sunday, but I got to get my office set up, and I don't like. And it's actually like in the room I'm in. I actually showed the room I'm in on Sunday. It's actually cold in here tonight because it's now October and it's officially you're getting that crisp air. This is going to be rough if I go any longer, so I got to really figure something out. But I'll spare you my household woes right now. Mr. Ass says, I love all this money is going into After Hours and he's missing out. Yeah, I know. That's going to turn into trouble because he gave me shit for that on Monday. He was like, this After Hours is going to stop. I'm canceling After Hours, okay? It's bull fucking shit that I get $5 and you're getting fucking thousands. It's just like, it is funny, but I think there's a ceiling to it. Can we do Beetlejuice costume for October/Halloween? Maybe. Yeah, exactly. Don't let him throw the eggs away. I know, there's only so much I can do right now. I'll have to get in touch with him tomorrow. Johnny says, we need an angle where TomB gambles all the money from After Hours and loses everything. He's getting super fucking jealous and resentful of the money he thinks you're making, TomB. It's a funny bit, but it's going to turn into something serious. I know, especially if he goes to his cousin Mark or something like this, But hey, legitimately though, it's not me ripping him off in the context of it because he still makes bank on the PCL. It's just this is a separate thing. He's not on it. He's not on it. He's not on After Hours technically. So in the scheme of things, I don't know why he's getting upset. His point is, and it's valid, why don't, with all the great sponsorship, why don't I get that for PCL? And my answer is always, as you've heard on the stream, well, look, you, even think of the context of it. Even if this is a legitimate thing, and Porsche's writing in, and all these things are writing in, he's still acting like that. I'm like, Perry, you're acting like this right now. All these people are watching. I don't care. Fuck him. He doesn't get it. Even in the moment of it, he's raging out. He's like, he doesn't care. and then the whoever wrote in the Dodge comment was great because the Dodge comment was hey Perry, here. And by the way, Dodge, you'd love to have Dodge as a sponsor, and he's like, "Fuck you! I hate Dodge. I don't want anything to do with Dodge." Which is hysterical, of course. Yeah, and then the Dale Bozio thing. The Dale Bozio thing was definitely. I mean, that just the look on his face. He was just, yeah, he was. Hey TomB, I'm kind of new to the Perry verse. How did this Twitch thing happen to Perry? It's a long story. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary, so I'm sure we'll talk about it more then. But the long and the short of it is, I was always looking for a way to earn him some extra money because he didn't have any, and he used to be on disability for a long time, and that ended, and I was kind of left holding the bag financially and like helping him out. So anyway, he was actually on OnlyFans, if you know what OnlyFans is, and that was kind of a joke that turned into something real. And then he was good at posting content. And I was like, and actually I'd always wanted to get him on Patreon, and that was going to happen anyway. Patreon was going to happen. I waited on Patreon for a long time for several reasons, but I figured after hours, OnlyFans would turn into a Patreon type thing. But then Only Hours, I don't know, I'm tongue tied. Only Hours, OnlyFans had this feature where you can go live, like a live streaming, and live streaming with Perry came. The idea for it came like years ago. Like he wanted to do it. He goes, I want, and he's tried it on his own at various times. He was going to go on Facebook Live one time, and somebody had sent him a camera, and he was going to like do the Oscars or something like that, like watch the Oscars. And I remember, and I wasn't as interested then in that because he was doing other things, and I didn't want to have any conflict or anything like that. But he couldn't figure out how to even turn it on. So he's on OnlyFans, and then I just said, like, let's try this thing. Let's try the live streaming feature on OnlyFans, because it was behind a paywall. There was only like, I don't know, maybe a couple of hundred, maybe like 200 people. I don't even remember at the height, like maybe not even, maybe like 150 people on there. And so it was election night last year, so last November 2nd, whatever election night was. It was on a Tuesday, and he sat in front, much like you see now, he was in front of his computer, and we started doing it. And it was mainly, he had the TV on, he had like Fox News on. He'd be like, okay, Trump has won Florida. Oh yeah, Trump's gonna win this fucking, Trump's gonna win. And he would just be doing his little segments on election. I can't do any more Perry tonight, it wrecked my voice. Wow. November 3rd. Okay, thanks for the clarification. So all those OnlyFans streams are now on his YouTube, by the way. But he did a much better job than I thought he would, and he was really good at it and engaging in a way. He's become more polished now, but he was very. I don't know. It's like watching a black and white movie now. If you go back and look at it, it's like watching something like from the silent film era compared to what it is now. Like the video quality looks like shit. There's no TTS. He read all of the comments. He read all of and the tip comments were like $1, and he would read all of the comments that would come in. And so a couple of things happened that night. Is like I realized that he was good at it. He needed help, of course. He needed my assistance. Now, I wasn't on the microphone at all. That didn't happen until much later. I was in his ear, though, and I was kind of just like directing him how to handle certain things. And he got his first food delivery that night, and that credit goes to Dr. Gunk. Dr. Gunk is the guy who started sending food deliveries. I think the first thing he got was like a fillet of fish, which became the mascot sandwich of PCL. Anyway, this is there's no way to make this short. So anyway, he did that, and a lot of little things started on that first stream, like things that still carry over to this day. But the one thing that happened that we always talk about is at the very end of that stream, he had gotten chili from Wendy's, and he didn't want to. Yeah, I was having him eat it, and then he was towards the end of the stream. He was rushing back to his kitchen to throw it down the sink, and he tripped and he fell, and the chili went all over the wall. and went all over the floor. And he was like, "God damn it, motherfucker!" And the chat just blew up. I was dying. I wasn't even on mic, so I didn't have to mute anything. I had to mute myself from him. But it was unbelievable. Like, it was just one of these magic moments. The chili was a lot like the watermelon. It was just like, oh my God. It was like the perfect ending. And I was like, ooh, there's something here. This could work. This could be his gig. This could work. And then we did a couple more. The next Tuesday, we did another live stream on OnlyFans, and it was like, I think we called it the election recap stream, and that was a good one too. The problem with that one is it didn't archive, it didn't save. Like, because when you ended on OnlyFans, and I'm going back now, you had to like click, "Would you like to save this stream?" And you click yes, and it archives for you, which I did. He raged out on a bunch of things. I remember he spilled tomato sauce all over his keyboard on that one and raged out, but the archive didn't work. And I remember getting in touch with OnlyFans support, which is useless, and they were like, "Oh, our live stream feature is experimental, so we can't guarantee everything, blah blah blah." So I'm like, "Well, I'm not doing these streams if we can't get an archive of it." But we did a few more. Then mailbag started. We started doing mailbag, like opening mail. I had him do open mail on a live stream that was just like him opening mail. That's how mailbag started on OnlyFans. And then there was one that was lost too, another mailbag. And I was like, okay, enough is enough. We got to do something else. And then Scott, who is kind of, what I always say is the godfather of PCL, he hit me up and mentions Twitch as an option. This is all in November. And then I remember being very hesitant about that because I was very comfortable with OnlyFans being behind a paywall and only just like, some hardcore Perry fans watching it. And, okay, Hannah picks out the garbage box they used to have tripped him. I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to have to get all these. I do want a highlight reel of the past year, which is going to be very tough for our 1 year anniversary. But anyway, so the Twitch thing came up, and I didn't know much about Twitch personally. I mean, I knew Twitch. I watched some Twitch here and there, but I wasn't a big Twitch guy. And Scott was like, "Hey, you know what? He did a really good job on OnlyFans, but there's a bigger audience out there." And the other, by the way, Mumbles says he didn't know there were two lost streams. The other lost stream is not that big. It wasn't that big of a loss. It was like 45 minutes of mailbag. It was okay, but I don't remember. I wasn't that heartbroken over it. The second stream though was a bummer because that was a really good stream and we lost that. But anyway, long and the short of it, I did eventually, obviously agreed to Twitch. I'll talk another time about why I had so many reservations about doing it. It's a much bigger story, but it was an obvious thing because it was like, here's the answer. Like, I was always looking for like, how do I get out of this hole that I'm in, this financial hole with Perry in a large way. So I'm giving you a much longer answer than you probably expected, but things were like dire straits like this time last year, and Twitch was a very good answer to a very serious problem. Anyway, so we went on Twitch for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving night was the first Twitch stream, and we just tested out, and that was a little crazy because there's no paywall anymore. Anybody can come on and look at it, and that went really well. And then we just started doing streams sporadically. We didn't have a schedule back then. We would just do official streams, unofficial streams, and then we came up with streams. And then we also streamed on YouTube at the same time. I don't know if it was right away. I think eventually. And then we even streamed on Facebook a couple times and tried that, but that was a bust. But we'd pick out like, we do like one big stream a month was the idea. Like, okay, November was Thanksgiving, December was obviously New Year's Eve was a big one, but then we did little one. We did Christmas Eve one, we sporadic, and there would be no schedule. And then January, da da da. Okay, here's Super Bowl Sunday, blah blah blah. And then as we got more traction, it became more of a serious thing. And then we like Twitch people would get in touch and like with Twitch for a channel, you want to get to an affiliate status, and then you get to eventual partnership, which is we're still going for. And to get to affiliate, they said, you got to have a schedule, you got to stream X amount of hours a week, and you're not doing that. So that's when we really took it seriously. But anyway, the very long answer to the question is that's how Twitch started. That's how Perry started on Twitch. Hot Amy was in April 20th. That's and also I should say I didn't get to say this on the stream. I'll try to remember to. In fact, Joey, remind me on Sunday to promote Monday's YouTube live stream replay. So what I'm doing. I've been very negligent on the YouTube channel because other things have taken priority. But I'm starting now to like really catch up on things, and the next stream that's going to be uploaded is called the Hot Amy Takeover stream, and that was on April 18th, which is the Sunday before the Hot Amy Live. But it's actually a really good one, and it's so long ago now that I forgot about a lot of the beats of it. And the problem I had with it is the video itself was corrupted. The save file was corrupted, and I had to do a lot of like and it was just something I didn't want to deal with, and I put off for a long time, and then I finally tackled it, got it done. So that's gonna do. Yeah, I forgot to mention it at all. So we're gonna do that on Monday. Monday, I think 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. So if people miss that one, if missed that stream, or you want to watch it again, it was a really good stream. So that's going to be premiering on YouTube, and the premiere means it's going to be, it's a live premiere, so you could just watch it as it streams live on YouTube. And I think I'm going to do that on Mondays for YouTube, because Monday's a good day for it because there's 2 days before the next stream. I didn't want to do it on a Saturday because it's sandwiched in between two streams, Mailbag Friday and Subscriber Sunday, and I don't know. I feel like that's kind of overload. But Monday's a good day for it because you have a 2 day break. But if you want to watch it again, whatever, it's going to be on Monday, and then the following Monday we'll premiere Hot Amy Live, which is Hot Amy Live, the one where Amy took Perry's sister-in-law took over the stream, which sounds ridiculous to say, but that'll be cool. And there's been so many new people since those even came out that I think will enjoy the live chat experience and the experience of watching something semi-live, even though it's not a live stream, but it's live on tape, I guess you would call it. But so I'll do that, and I don't think every stream will lend itself to replay like live premiere. Like there's a couple of streams that are like not as strong in my opinion. So maybe I'll just dump those on YouTube. But anyway, I've been catching up, and that's what we're gonna do for now. So Mondays on YouTube will be live premieres sporadically. So if you go on the channel, you can just like log into that Monday at 5. Because I get a lot of flack for like even people like type in like anything that gets posted on YouTube, whether it's just a post to say, hey, we're live on Twitch, like there's always these YouTube people like, oh, you abandoned us, you guys abandoned YouTube or whatever. So hey, now we're back on YouTube, and I'm gonna be posting a lot of clips and stuff like that, so it's gonna be it'll be good. But like I've said before, YouTube's always YouTube is for archiving the streams. Twitch is always going to be for the live streams, and YouTube's always going to be very behind. And if you want the streams immediately, like within 24 hours, that's what Patreon is for. So that's what it is. Rune says it feels like forever since Shark Boy, but it also feels like yesterday. I know what you mean when you say that. It does feel like ages ago. New Year's Eve was still like the Wild West of PCL in a lot of ways. But yeah, it does feel like even watching. I was going through a lot of April streams recently, and it was just like, wow, I forgot about this, or wow, I forgot about this, or even like the tattoo removals really started right around April. And I'm like, wow, that's been a thing since then. I'm stoked for the next TomB week. Any plans? I had thought about possibly going out there for Halloween, but I just can't make it work financially, to be perfectly honest with you. I looked into airfare and hotel for that week, and it's just, I'm pretty stretched as it is with a lot of stuff going on, like at home here. I can't make it work. Although talking tonight about his birthday, I was almost thinking about maybe making a really big deal about his birthday for that Wednesday stream. So maybe sometime in November, if I can somehow find some magical thing for Halloween, I'll make that work. But right now, I don't see it, unfortunately. But there'll definitely be another TomB week. Um, yeah, I'm catching up on older chat too. At the same time, Joey Bags says, right between the watermelon and the chili incident, there is a God, and he loves fucking with Perry too. That's true. Uh, Garbage Gamer says, I wish I was there live that night. I thought the watermelon wasn't going to happen. When it finally did, it was like fucking magic. Yeah, a lot of people were bummed out that there was a lot of people that didn't hang in, and they all regretted it. So the people that caught it live, you caught something special. But yeah, so there's a lot of like YouTube thing, like, and then like, even it's crazy to think about, like, even TomB week now feels like a long time ago, and that's not even on YouTube yet. So that's like that whole shit's got to go on YouTube. And that's gonna be a bitch to edit because there's so many like video things that we did separately, like in the apartment, like his phone or like my phone, or like extra video things that got to be slotted in. So I'm gonna tackle that soon. Whatever happens will be great. Thanks for all your hard work. Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I'll figure a way. I might have to. Maybe Perry can pay for my plane ticket or something. Um, it's not even the plane ticket. It's more the hotel. That's the thing. Because I'm not staying at Perry's, obviously. Rick. Oh, did he make up the part where they said they showed it in the stream in the restaurant? I think they told him that. I can't possibly imagine that that would be the case. I can't possibly imagine it. And I think there was a different guy there last night. That's because he told me when he got home, like, the guy was very nice and watched, knew about the stream since the time he was kicked out. But I can't possibly say it. I can't possibly see it that they played the stream. That's hard to believe. So maybe they said that, but I mean, and if they do, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I doubt it though. Who was the dude at 7-Eleven? I don't know. That was a guy that legit recognized Perry. He didn't even know about the streams. He was a Windy City Heat fan, so he recognized Perry from Windy City Heat, which is crazy. And I did not orchestrate that at all. I mean, it just worked. I mean, that was crazy. That just worked out that way. No, so I don't know who that was. I also think the guy who did the delivery, if that's what you're talking about, is obviously a fan. The guy who showed up with the pumpkins and what it was trying to get his way into the apartment. I don't know who that is. I've never seen him before. Usually things like that should be cleared. At least like somebody writes Joey or me, but occasionally it's like last week those two guys with the fish. They were clearly fans, but this guy was cool. The guy tonight was cool. No problem. No problem. Danger Kenny, again, I'm catching up on older chat. For new people, Perry doesn't really have politics. He thinks Trump is his friend, and before that, his political beliefs were based on cable news he watched. Yeah, that's the thing for new people too that come in, because I've seen it in the chat, like when Perry goes off on Trump or whatever, like, oh, Trump sucks or Trump this and that. It's like you can't take Perry too seriously with politics. You really can't. I mean, you know. And what I said on the stream is true. I think politics are cringe, and I don't even want to get anywhere near them. But it is good for comedy at some times, for a laugh. Yeah, I know. Perry was gonna put those fish down the garbage disposal. What a brutal death. Even for fish, and I know goldfish like that are disposable pets, as you would call them, but you don't want to see that. And plus, it is a legitimate terms of service thing, where they clearly lay out, and I have that thing almost memorized, because I have to. And yeah, you can't have any self harm or harming of any living things. Basically, I mean, I don't know if, like, I think you could probably swat a mosquito on your neck, but uh, you know, killing fish is probably, and he'd probably be okay with that. I mean, I mean, he'd probably be okay with. I don't think he'd get in trouble for that, but you don't want to go down that road. And yeah, thanks again to Rick for being a stand-up guy and coming and getting those fish, because that was a big deal. And if he couldn't, Garrett also offered. Defiant P said, you think it's sad when he didn't celebrate his birthday? Well, you have to understand, he was a Jehovah's Witness for so many years, and they think birthdays are bad. Holidays and birthdays are bad. So even the fact that, like look at where he is today, compared to, yeah, even a year ago. Um, he wishes people a happy birthday with no problem. Like Garrett's dad. By the way, happy birthday to Garrett's dad once again. But if I would say to him a year ago, "Hey, Garrett's dad, it's his birthday." Fuck you, fuck birthdays. I'm not wishing a happy birthday. That's demonic. That's satanic. I don't do birthday. God damn you and your birthdays. Like he would say to me, like it would be my birthday. Let's say, and like, oh, what do you? And I, like, what are you doing? Like, oh, my parent. You should not be celebrating your birthday. It is a world. To give all this the hoopla of the Jehovah's Witness thing. And so anyway, the long and the short of it is, this coming birthday, November 17th, is his first birthday where he's not a witness, and he's not, and I know there's still some confusion lingering about, he's probably like weird about celebrating birthday, but I would like to make it a nice birthday for him. I really would, because it's his legitimate first birthday. And he could be a prick about it. He could be very Perry about it. Be like, I don't want a birthday. But yeah, it's kind of a big deal that it's his first birthday. His first birthday in a long time. I don't know. It's on a stream day. His birthday is on a Wednesday, so his birthday is on a stream day. Too bad he can't get a stripper. I know, I know that would be. We should get a stripper that doesn't get naked, if that's possible. But again, he's so weird about people coming in his place. It's so hard to negotiate that stuff. Bouncy house, yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that would make him happy. He's just so strange to please. Because even, like, I don't, like, you can get him something nice, or like, I don't need this, even though it's something he clearly needs. Tell him a stripper is coming, and then have it be like a Civil War reenactor or something like that. Yeah, the guy with like a sword hanging from his belt, like tassels. Is it okay to send Perry short letters as mailbag? I miss him reading letter is pacing. Yeah, as long as they're not too long. You know how bad Perry reading long is. Like there was like that guy Chris Fontaine, bless his heart, and Joey can attest to this. The poor fella had like five offer things shot down tonight because they were just not for various reasons. And then I think the one got through with his egg son. But one of his things is he had this website for Perry to look at on the stream, and not only was I not set up for that tonight, it was just very wordy, and Perry reading is just brutal, and so I didn't have that set up. I just said no, and Joey did too. Actually, we both kind of agreed that it would be a no. If either Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Colbert, or Howard Stern asked to come on their show at the same time in a row to promote PCL, who would you choose? Oh man, um, it wouldn't be Stern. Yeah, postcard length is fine, like a paragraph or two, paragraph and a half is fine. Maybe Fallon because that would be easy for me because he's in New York. Even though I can't stand Fallon, I can't stand any of them to be interested. I shouldn't even say that because I know. One of those guys watches the stream sometimes, but I don't think he watches After Hours. But I don't like any of them. I really don't. I don't think it would. I don't think it would put any asses in seats. Yeah, I agree with you. Colbert's probably the worst out of that bunch. Um, Colbert is so weird. It was so weird that Colbert got that post Letterman gig because he did a character on. I don't even remember the show he did. Like, I mean, the Colbert Report, right, on the comedy, and he did this character where he was like this weirdo conservative guy, I was never a fan of that, but I can see why people would like it. And then he's like his self, and he follows Letterman like God, and it boggles my mind how he got that gig, boggles my mind. And I don't know who else could have gotten it. I don't. You know, like I've said many times, I think late night TV has run its course, and I think has about 10 years left in it before it's completely gone and dead. But not gone. There'll still be somebody trying to do it, but it's a dead medium. It's a dead medium. But yeah, Colbert is the worst. You're right. Colbert is the absolute worst. He's so bad. Anytime, even when I see clips, I mean, I've never seen it. I've never seen it, but when I've seen like clips of him, he's horrible. Oh my God, he's hard. And not just his politics. It's just him in general. Like even when he's not political. And I agree with you. Penetrators says Craig Ferguson was ahead of his time. He was the best guy in the modern era. I think Craig Ferguson was fantastic. He was a good host. He was funny, and he was actually a really good interviewer. And he got engaged to the person he was interviewing. I would actually watch Ferguson once in a while. I mean, I didn't make it a habit, but I watched him once in a while, and I especially like watching him on YouTube now. And there's a couple of shows that Ferguson did without a studio audience at all, and he tried to make it like an old like 70s type talk show, like a Dick Cavett or a Tom Snyder, and they were really engaging and really good. You're right. Ferguson deserves a lot of credit. Did I see a clip of Colbert dancing with human syringes to promote the vaccine? No, I'm thankful I didn't. They're not in my purview anymore. I don't see any clip. I don't follow any of them on like social media. I don't see. I really, unless there's something extraordinary, I don't see. I don't see any clips of any late night show. Colbert is a total bitch too. He said that he couldn't possibly do the character during the Trump administration, even though exactly. It's like, who cares, man? It's like he's so bad. CBS hated Craig. I could see that. It's too bad because he was great. And then now they got that other. Oh God, what's that? What's the guy's name? James Corden. Oh, oh my God, is he bad? Holy shit. But yeah, look up like Craig Ferguson interviews and stuff like that. And he was good. And he followed what was it, Craig Kilborn, who strangely gave up that show, and he was okay too. He was okay, but he was still doing that character. And I remember I thought it was a weird choice for Ferguson to get that gig even back then, and that was like what, 2004. So, and I was like, I only knew him from like the Drew Carey show, and I was like, oh, the guy from the Drew Carey show is gonna do a show. So I was shocked, but he was great, great interviewer, and exactly what a late night host should be. He wasn't political. He was just he was very Carson esque in a way, but modern in terms of he was very he always listened. I don't feel like any of these hosts listen to their guests, and there's no time to get anything out. What do you have, a segment that's like 4 minutes long before you go to commercial? How can you get anything out? How can you get anything out? How can you promote anything? There's no conversation that you can have on these shows. What about a podcast? Out of those choices, boy, that'd be tough. Yeah, I guess you got to go with Rogan because people listen to it. Um, Rogan has a big audience. You know, love him or hate him, he has a great audience. So yeah, Rogan would be my answer there. And I'm not a fan of Rogan, by the way. Don't let me give you that impression that I like Rogan. I don't listen to him, although I will if it's a guest I care about. Like he had Quentin Tarantino on a few months ago, and I listened to that because I not because I care about Rogan or his stupid questions, but I care about Tarantino. So every now and again he'll have a big guest that's somebody I'm interested in. So I'll and I won't listen to the whole thing. I'll just listen to that. Garbage Gamer says Stern and Colbert are both dicks. All of them suck, but Fallon would be the easiest spot to hit. Yeah, I agree with that. At a late night TV, it'd be. And I don't think Fallon is very good. I think Fallon is terrible. I think he was terrible on Saturday Night Live too, but I wasn't really watching Saturday Night Live when he was on. But somebody said, I forget where it was. It was a question online somewhere. It was like, who was the worst Saturday Night Live? Who were the worst Saturday Night Live castmates? Like people that are famous. And Fallon got a lot of answers, and I was like, yeah, it's hard to argue. But yeah, as far as doing the show, I think Fallon would give you the most time to live. Fallon at least feigns engagement. Like he tries to be engaged to his guests a little bit, even though it's all fake, whatever. I also hear that he's a really heavy drinker, and like I don't know if it's the case anymore. They might have tightened him up, but I mean years ago, like there was always stories about him like in bars and like late night in New York, and he was like a really like crazy drunk. But I don't know if that's the I don't know if that's still the case. Johnny Pretzel says late night makes me sad now. I loved Letterman as a kid and early Conan, but it's so PC politics now. Myers is on. Oh, I forgot about Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers is the worst. Seth Meyers might be worse than James Corden. Might be worse than Seth Meyers is garbage, trash garbage. Yeah, they're all PC garbage. They're all woke garbage. But yeah, ooh, Seth Meyers. God, this is so bad. There's not one good guy in late night. There's not one. There's not one. It's not a conversation of who's the best. It's like who's not the worst. that's that's really what it comes down to. But yeah, I'm the same way. I grew up loving. I grew up loving Letterman and even Carson. God, I did so poorly in school. There was like, God, I forget what grade I was in, but I managed to sneak a TV in my bedroom. I wasn't allowed to have a TV in my bedroom, but I managed to sneak a TV in my bedroom, and I would stay up and try to watch Letterman, and I felt so badass. And man, I would just go to school the next day like a zombie. And then I figured out that I could tape Letterman and watch it when I came home from school. But yeah, I can't imagine that anymore. Like that whole culture's gone. I don't know who watches these shows. Like, what's the demographic? Like, who? is watching those shows when they come on. Like, who's sitting down at 11:30? Like, okay, it's time to watch Fallon or Colbert or Kim. Like, who's actually watching these? Like, what's like? I feel like they're all just made for YouTube clips. They're not even made to watch like the full hour. Like, in fact, if somebody does watch the full hour, you're like, wow, you actually watched the full hour? Like, you watched the musical guest and everything? Like, that's insane. You don't want to have Perry go on Stern and discuss the adversities he's overcome and his methods of being a creator while Howard plays amateur psychiatrist for an hour and a half and then preaches about cats and homosexuals. I think you're making a mistake. Yeah, I know. By the way, I heard I didn't hear it, of course, because I don't listen to Stern. But I heard that Stern interviewed Mick Jagger the other day, and it was a disaster. I don't know if anybody heard it, but I just heard even like the Stern simps, the people that still claim to listen and still think that he's good, even they couldn't defend it. It was so bad. Apparently, I didn't hear it, but apparently he moved his show. Like the show started at like 1 p.m. I think it was on Wednesday, and it was just like it was a disaster. Apparently, like Stern interviewing Mick Jagger. Nobody likes Joe Rogan, but everybody enjoys the interviews. I guess that's true. I don't know anybody that likes Rogan. I don't know anybody that actually listens to them. Occasionally, I'll see like there'll be a post or something like that, like on social media somewhere. I'll be like, "Oh, what are some like somebody will be not recently, but somebody will be asking like, I need a new podcast. Like, what are some podcasts you listen to?" And like people like will listen to the list the podcast they listen to, and it's like it's just always this cringe list of these horrible podcasts, and Rogan will be in there inadvertently like, and I'd be like, "Ooh, God, people actually listen to that. Like people actually tune in like to or download that or stream that or however you get Rogan now. It's at Spotify, right? It's Spotify exclusive." Trevor Noah. Ooh, God, you're giving me chills down my spine. Cora says Red Bar exposed Rogan for you. So does that mean pre-listening to Red Bar that you were into Rogan, or like like were you a Rogan fan and then you listened to Red Bar and it made you like the wheels turn in your head saying like this is trash? What are actual good podcasts? That's a good question. It's very subjective. I've said before I don't listen to too many. I listen to Red Bar and I listen to Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, but I don't listen to that a lot. I have to take that in small doses, and it's only when he has a good guest or a guest that I'm interested in. Phantom Green says I listen to music 99% of the time. If not listening to Big Three podcast reruns. Yeah, me too. I mean, not listening to Big Three reruns, but I try to listen to more music. I listen to music when I work. Jim Cornette, actually, I'd be interested in listening to his podcast. I haven't heard it, but he's a really interesting guy. Makes me sad though, and I've said this before because it makes me think of what an amazing podcast Bobby Heenan would have had he'd never had cancer. Bobby Heenan had throat cancer, and he was, whether or not you're a wrestling fan or not, he was just one of the all-time greatest talkers and just a funny guy. And man, fuck, you give Bobby Heenan a podcast, I think it would have been the best thing ever. And it's just so the Jim Cornette thing, like I just I like the concept of it because he gets compared to Bobby Heenan a lot, but he's not in the same league. But man, I wish we could have had that. Michelle Wolf. Oh, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't listen to. I've heard Steve Austin's podcast is okay. In fact, yesterday I actually listened to his interview with Hulk Hogan, and I was really impressed by how both guys were actually really honest with each other. So that was interesting, but I couldn't see myself listening to it on a regular basis. Yeah, Phantom Green, I agree with you, and I've said that before on this stream that Bobby Heenan losing his voice is proof of either a cruel God or no God. To me, no God. Um, I can't see it because God, the guy just had such a difficult time the last, I don't know, the last like 12 years of his life, especially. Like, had to have jaw replacement surgery. Awful, awful stuff. And he was such a gem. Such a gem. If Red Bar trashed PCL, would my feelings be hurt? No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I don't think I'd want to be featured on there. I wouldn't want PCL featured on there, but no. My feelings wouldn't be hurt because I know it's not his bag. It's not his thing. But I think he goes after, like, bad people, like liars and, like, people that purportedly tried to be. See, the thing about Red Bar that's good is, like, he really goes after people that try to be something they're not, or front that they're something they're not, or they're bad people. Like, they cheat, they steal, they do stuff. So there's people that are not on his radar that I'm surprised are not on his radar. Like, there's people that I could think of that are like, this guy is the perfect fool for Red Bar. Um, how is that person not on it? Jesus, how cold is LI right now? It is pretty freaking cold. I gotta tell you, this room is gonna get brutal real soon. Because I don't have it finished because I think I mentioned on Sunday I ran out of money doing this. I bit off more than I could chew, as the song goes. It's in the 60s, and I feel it. I definitely feel it. I don't have a jacket on or anything like that. But yeah, there's a lot of crossover fans, and not for nothing. I think me personally, have single handedly gifted Red Bar at least 100 fans, at least 100 people that checked it out, and then a lot of them became Scars Club members, which is his premium membership club. You know, where you pay for it, because I had a ton. I lost count, especially back in the fall where I was talking about it more because he hasn't been doing any new shows. I talked about it a lot and how great it was. So I single handedly gave him a ton of new people. Um, so I think that would get me. I think that would at least get me on the obeyment list. but anyway, the answer to the question is no. I wouldn't. I'd be bummed out, but I wouldn't take it personally. I try to have a very thick skin. But I don't see why it would ever be on his radar. Because he looks at people that are like, have like no viewers. Like, oh, look at this guy streaming for like 6 people or something like that. We have pretty good numbers. I tried listening to Red Bar. I like what he does, but I just don't think he's funny. That's yeah, cool. That's your opinion. I don't think it's not about him being funny. It's about his dissection of things. Section of things. Don Barris is on the obeyment list. Yeah, that's because of me, by the way. I trained him about Red Bar, and I trained him on exactly what to say and how to handle those things. So he can thank me for being on that obeyment list because he wouldn't know what Red Bar was without me. Anytime he's mentioned Red Bar, which is not that many times, he's known exactly what to say, and that's because of my training. Yeah, I had said to him years ago, this is one screen you do not want to end up on because you would be ripe. You would be ripe for Red Bar in all the worst ways. The obeyment list is a list of comedians that Red Bar doesn't necessarily go after hard because they obey or they say crazy things about it. It's mainly a joke. It's not a real thing because he doesn't pay attention to it. So I forget who else is on it. Yeah, it's like people that say like the guy. What's the guy's name? Shit, Legion of Skanks is on there. I can't think of his name. But that's the obeyment list. Anyway, he put out a thing a couple of weeks ago that he was coming back or whatever, but I haven't heard anything. I've just kind of gotten used to not listening to it. It's weird when you don't have. It was almost like not having PCL for a couple of weeks. I found other things to do, mainly work related. No, he picks on everybody. It was not just comedian. He picks on uh, comedians, streamers, influencers, social media people. It just really, really, whatever. Uh, and there's people that he focuses on that I don't care about, that I have no interest in. Like one of the main guys that he always went on, that guy Patrick Melton, never gave a shit about him. I thought the coverage was boring, never cared. So I pick and choose with that. But then there's other people that I would not know if it wasn't for Red Bar, like a guy like Josh Denny, who I'm fascinated with now. I had no idea. Even like that guy, Mike, who was on Jake Paul's podcast, Big Mike, like would have no idea. Would have no idea. That would never be in my universe. Never be in my universe. But now I get obsessed on like like the little things that they're up to, or their screw ups or their fuck ups. Like I get obsessed with somebody like picking that out, like, oh, look what this person did, or this person streamed online for like like nobody, and like they pretend to do things. William Randolph Hearst III just gave PCL specific props for moving past the old material and taking it online into streaming. Did he really? I didn't hear that. When was that? Because I felt like I've said this before. I felt like he's meaning Gavin is very out of touch with everything going on. He didn't even know about this, but that's interesting if he said that. If you could pick a year to go back in time and visit for 1 week to experience, where would you go and what would you see? That's a very good question. Um, I'd want to go somewhere in modern times, but I have a guaranteed ticket back, right? Like I can guarantee I won't get stuck there. Um, to be perfectly honest with you, I would stay in New York, and I'd want to see New York in like the late 1800s, early 1920s. I'd want to. Uh, I'd like to see, part of me wants to even go back to like the 5 points of New York and the gangs of New York era, but I definitely would want to see something that I'm familiar with, but at an older time. Like I don't want to go back to, I don't want to go back and see any dinosaurs. I don't want to go back, I don't want to go back that far. I want to go back. I want to go back far enough where I can have a conversation with a random person and blend in somewhat. So yeah, I'd love to meet Bill the Butcher, but Bill the Butcher from the movie. I don't know if the real Bill the Butcher was as charismatic. Oh, William Randolph Hearst. Gavin talked about it. Yeah, if Johnny, if you could send me like a clip of that, I'd be interested in hearing that. Uh, you go back to the 1500s and live in the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, that's a little risky for me. I feel like I'd be outed. Are you also given the language? Like, can you speak the language fluently? Like there's so many aspects to that when you go back in time. Like, I don't want to be found out and like stoned before you can get your return ticket back. Like, oh, this guy's this guy's a wizard. He's a demon. He's clearly a Satan worshiper or something like that. He speaks in funny tongues. Let's kill him. Like that. That's I've actually thought this out quite a bit. But I would also just like to hang out if like if you go by the rules of quantum leap and you can only travel within your own timeline, which I always thought was good rules. Like you can only travel back in time like within your time your own since you were born. I'd love to go. I'd love to go back in time to the 1977 um, summer of 1977 and spend a day in New York City. Maybe the night of the big blackout. in New York City and just hang out. Who would win in a fight, TomB at age 19 or Perry at age 19? I think Perry would kick my 19-year-old ass because he's got. I can imagine Perry at that age being crazy energy. Although he's coming off the accident, so he's probably still recovering. Me, I might be able to best him. That's a good question. I've been on the receiving end of his punches, and his punches now in recent years. If there was a little more coordinated ferocity between those punches, then yeah, maybe, maybe we'd end up differently. That's a good question, though. Now you got me thinking about podcasts, though. There might be. Are there any like? And I'll put this out there to you guys. Is there any good like aside from the ones we've mentioned? And don't be afraid to say what you like, even if you think other people won't. Are there any good podcasts out there worth listening to? And I try to stay away from ones done by comedians because, as I've said, I hate hearing comedians talk about themselves, or specifically talking about the craft of comedy, which gets nauseating, especially when they're talking to other comedians. So a podcast that's another thing. Have podcasts kind of burnt themselves out? You know, because it's just like, and they're all sponsored by the same lousy sponsors. Like, I mean, I will never, ever, ever in a million years subscribe to NordVPN because they're so annoying. And like, like talk about sponsorships for the stream. If NordVPN came to me and said, we want to sponsor on PCL. We're gonna pay. I'd say like, I would be like Perry. I'd be like, go fuck yourself because they just whore out on everything. Yeah, too saturated, right? I agree. Because a friend of mine, my friend Brian, we used to do a podcast together like years ago. I've talked about it before, and he's like, "Oh, we should do it again." He's like, he has more free time now. We did it with this other guy, who kind of lost his mind, and that's why the podcast ended. But he's like, "Hey, let's do it again." Number one, I don't have a lot of time for it, but number two, I was like, "What kind of audience would we get? It's so saturated. Like everybody does a podcast. Like what's the point of it? Like what would you get out of it? What would you get out of it?" So I don't, but he's been really on me to like do something. Like, oh, on one of your days off, let's just do a podcast and talk about whatever. What's my opinion on Kevin Smith? I hate Kevin Smith. Horrible. I've talked about him. I've talked about Kevin Smith. I think he's horrible. I mean, I won't even say he's overrated because I think a lot of people can't stand him. I find his. I think people. I find people who really like Kevin Smith to be puzzling. I don't get it. I don't get it. I hate Kevin Smith. Hate him with a passion. I think he's the worst thing. I think he's one of the worst things ever. I don't get it. I don't understand how he's still able to make movies. I don't understand how he gets his hands on something like Masters of the Universe. I don't think anything he's ever done holds up. I remember liking Clerks when it came out. I saw Clerks very early. I had a bootleg tape of Clerks, like almost like 6 months before it came out. Um, and I remember liking it at the time, like, oh, this is interesting, but it doesn't hold up. I tried watching Clerks like maybe 10 years ago. Not that I tried watching it; it just happened to be on. Like it was on like when I had cable. It was like Stars or something like that, and it was just like, ugh, it was so cringe. People who really like Kevin Smith are still trapped in a 15-year-old mentality, and it's nostalgia from when you were 15. I agree with that 100%. Because there's people that evolve past their nostalgia. Like there's things I was nostalgic about, but I realize is crap now. And then the quality stuff is the stuff that stays with you. Yeah, that's true. I got into that story. Mumbles mentions my cousin, my cousin and her husband are friends with Kevin Smith. To the fact that like he like gives them like shout outs on his social media. Like I don't know, like he gave them some kind of like shout out for when they had a baby or something like that. But anyway, so at the baptism, like for the thing, I wasn't invited because of my hard opinions about Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith was, because Kevin Smith was going to be there, and I've made my opinions about Kevin Smith known. Like even like when I knew they knew him, but I didn't care. Like that look, I'm not gonna shit on somebody who's like the friend, but I was like it just came up. Like my sister asked a question like, oh, are you? I forget what it was. It was Kevin Smith related. I think I don't know. Somebody must have brought up like, oh, he's doing a movie. I was like, and I eye rolled, and I was like, Kevin Smith is awful. He's awful. And then I went, and then I caught myself. I was like, oh right, they're friends with Kevin Smith. So then I heard through the grapevine I wasn't invited to the baptism, which is crazy because I'm the first cousin, and I wasn't invited because because I wasn't because I as if I would go there and like go to Kevin Smith in person and say something. Geez, I've never seen Mallrats in full. I've tried watching it and I couldn't get through it ever. I couldn't get through it ever, ever. And Chasing Amy, awful, awful. Clerks 2, so embarrassing. How did anybody give him the money to make Clerks 3? Was that like crowdfunded or something? Like how is that possible? Tom, look into your crystal ball. Will there ever be another movie based around Perry? I have no idea. I would say no. I think Perry's future is streaming, and however I don't know. He's got some TV offers, which could be interesting. Stoner rom coms are stupid. Yes. What was the one? Fuck. What was the one that he did? That was like with Alanis Morissette and like all the that people raved about. That was like, oh my god, it was so embarrassing and shit. I hated Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I thought that was garbage. You can't name me a good Kevin Smith movie, and I'm sorry to Kevin Smith's fans. You can't name me a good Kevin Smith movie. Like there's some directors where like, oh, well, he made this one good movie, or some movies are Dogma. That was it. Oh my god, is that fucking garbage? Holy cow, is that bad? And I had a girlfriend at the time when Dogma came out that she didn't like love Kevin Smith, but she thought it was like a big deal that we got to go see Dogma. I was like, really? And I was like, and we didn't see it. And then I think when it came out on like DVD or whatever, we rented it or something, and it was just yeah, Jesus nailed it. I hate preachy atheists that are as bad as religious people, and that's Kevin. Yeah, it's like totally. That's why I would never side with an atheist, because you're basically being an obnoxious non-believer. It's like you're going on and on about not believing, and you're shitting on people that do. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not religious. I'm not, and I've had my huge problems with God, and all my problems with God come down to why do bad things happen to good people. And that this is a theology thing, philosophy thing about the proof of the existence of God or the proof of the non-existence of God. And my thing with it is, how could I don't know, like I'm making this up, but like I know this has happened. Like, how does like a dad accidentally run over his 3-year-old in the driveway? Like how does God allow innocent children getting killed? How does God allow my best friend growing up die? How does God allow my aunt die? When I forget how old she was, but so personal things like that. And then you hear about things like like I said about the Bobby Heenan thing. I'm not lying about that. I'm not exaggerating. Like, how does an all loving God allow that to happen? How does a God allow 9/11? And all these things stack up for me, and I'm just like, it's just impossible. What kind of asshole God is this? But at the same time, the other side of the coin, if you believe and if you have faith, I'm not going to take that away from you. I'm not going to say you're an asshole for it. And that's the whole thing with atheists, is like they will call you an idiot for believing. And I don't get into that, because I would love for there to be a God. I think it's the most comforting thing in the world to think that when you pass on, that you're going to have this afterlife and all this, and see I don't know, all the people that meant something to you that have passed on. Like it's a beautiful concept, but I don't think it exists. And again, I'd love to be proven wrong, but it's the thing about like it's like me, like let's saying. I don't know. Like I hate the Disney Star Wars, but if somebody likes Disney Star Wars, like me really hammering them, like you're well, that's actually happened. But you know what I mean? Like if you have an opinion about something and you really like, I hate this show, or I hate this team, and you're an idiot for liking this team, or you're an idiot for liking this show. It's like no, it's like listen, here's the reasons why I don't like it. But if you like it, have at it. It's your thing, and it's like that's the atheist thing is they just won't sit still. They have to tell you not only that you're an idiot for believing, but here's the reasons why, and like they're just so angry, like Penn Jillette or people like that. And I like Penn Jillette, but yeah, but you're right. Atheists are more annoying than religious people, not the hardcore religious, but you know. And no, I'm not an atheist. I would call myself an agnostic. Would be the correct term, but because atheists, it's almost like joining a club of non-believers. Like I'm passionate about non-believing, and I'm not. I just don't care. It's like politics. I don't give a fuck. In fact, I'm at the point now. I don't see myself voting, like in the next election. I don't. You don't have to believe in afterlife to believe in God, but energy does go somewhere. It could go. Yeah, I can buy into that. Yeah, I'd agree with Jesus. Atheists are very in your face, and they're angry too. They're angry about it. They're angry that everyone's not on their same page. So ridiculous. And yeah, a lot of elderly people, like my mom. My mom is super religious, and she goes to church every Sunday, and that's cool. And in fact, when I was younger, I'd be more of an asshole about it, you know. But whatever. I'm just I try not to commit to either side because there's times where I'm thinking, oh, maybe there is something. You know, I've waffled on it, but whatever. Perry and TomB to be reunited in the afterlife. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's whatever you're into is fine. Oh, Johnny Pretzels, you sent me the thing in Discord. That's cool. Can I play it on here? Let me see if I can play this. It might just be audio. I want to see if I can play this clip. This is from, I guess, Gavin's show the other day. Hang on, I'm going to see if this plays on here.
Perry Caravello live. I was curious if you've watched any of Perry's live stream on Twitch. I don't know if you talked about it on the show. I have. So you don't watch the show. Essentially, Tom Brennan has been pretty successful in monetizing Fury Caramello, and the results are hilarious. Unfortunately, I think this has kind of split up the big three. But I must commend TomB for helping Perry go from the verge of homelessness to a moderately successful stream. I recommend it as a fellow Big Three fan. I did not know it split up the Big Three. I mean, the Big Three is Mole, who's a comedy writer, and he's busy working with Kimmel, so he's not really looking for more hobbies. And then Don Barris is a live comedy dude. He's not really a technology guy, so he likes having his ding-dongers at the Comedy Store where he has all his fucking freaks, which is where I go every time I'm in L.A., directly from the airport. But like doing live streams, I don't really think that's very Don Barris. Are you going to pull one up sometime this century, or are we moving?
Did he actually play a clip? First of all, everything he said was wrong. So the compliment there was from the person who wrote in, not from Gavin, which proves my point always that Gavin has no idea what he's talking about, and he doesn't know anything about what's going on. So was there a follow up there? Did he talk about it? So that's the person who wrote in asking Gavin is the one who was saying like, oh, PCL has Perry's done well on streaming or whatever, and everything else he said is horse shit. So, because I was surprised when you said, "Oh, Gavin was talking good about," it's because he doesn't know what he's talking about. So he played it on another app, but okay. If you send me that link, I'll maybe play it, but yeah, I don't know. Like even Gavin, like who's watching Gavin? like he's just, does he have an audience? He says he talks about PCL, shows clips, and says he watched. Okay, I if he watches it, cool. If he doesn't watch it, that's cool too. I've talked about Gavin many times, and I was friends with Gavin, and I like Gavin as a person. I'm very confused at the direction he chose for himself. You think Gavin is back on Kumia? Really? Huh. Well, Johnny Pretzels. If you watch Gavin like regularly, like I actually enjoyed him on Compound Media when he was on pre political Gavin, like pre Proud Boys Gavin, like I don't know what years that would be, like 2015, I guess. Um, and he was really good, and he had very interesting shows to the point where I was actually helping him with his show. Like I'd get him guests and stuff like that, or make suggestions. Although him and I disagreed a lot on like how shows should be formatted. He has this thing about he has this thing where like he wants interviews to be like 5 minutes long and then move on to something else. And I was like, really? That's like I'm gonna work hard to get you a guest, and you're gonna like kick them out the door after 5 minutes because like, oh, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to talk to more than 5 minutes. I think it's you want to go in and out. And I'm like, really? Like, and I don't think Gavin. Yeah, again, I don't want to badmouth him, but I don't think he's a great interviewer because he has an agenda with every guest. And again, this is pre nonsense, pre Proud Boy, pre political stuff. He would have an agenda of somebody he wanted to talk to, and then once that agenda was up, he wouldn't entertain any other subject changes. And I think, whatever. Korth, you're not a Proud Boy. There's no. I mean, look, I know. Whatever, things got off the rails with him, but I would hope the fact that nobody's a friggin' proud, because it's just so stupid. I remember at the time it was stupid. The fact that it still goes on is baffling to me. Absolutely baffling to me. Yeah, I know he's a big drinker. Okay, good. I didn't think so. Because I know a lot of Red Bar people got into Red Bar because Red Bar was briefly on Compound Media, and that's how I found out about Red Bar. Right around the time and I found out about Red Bar when he was guest hosting for Gavin, because it all cycles back. But I forget my point. But I don't know. Like Gavin was such a better lifestyle. Oh, my point was there's a lot of Red Bar fans that were kind of like quote unquote Proud Boys because they came over at the time where Gavin was very into that. I don't know if he still is. Is Gavin still like heavy into that? I wouldn't know. Yeah, Mike David hosted. If you ever want to entertain yourself, try to track down Mike David, who's the guy that does Red Bar, guest hosting the Gavin McInnes show. He did it 2 times on Compound Media, and it is fantastic because he just shat all over the whole network. They ended up giving him a show, or not a show, but they ended up giving him airtime on the network, and it lasted much longer than I thought it would. But really, Red Bar made Compound Media its bitch because he took a ton of people away from Compound ton of people. I'd say more than 50% of Red Bar's audience came from Compound in that period of time, myself included. Funny thing about Proud Boys, it started as a joke, turned into some gay frat boy club, and most of the members are not white. I don't even know if that's true. I just remember when it started, it was like, yeah, it was supposed to be like a fun, gaggy thing. The problem with Gavin is most of his audience were these like young millennials, like in their 20s, and he was like an absentee landlord when it started. Like he just was like, he set up like all these groups and stuff. Okay, well, you guys do whatever you want. He's like, I'm the CEO, but I'm leaving it to you guys. You guys set up the infrastructure and you guys do this. And he didn't realize that you had all these like dopey like millennials, and like a lot of these guys were like really bad dudes, and they're the ones that gave it a bad name. And like he had like genuine neo-Nazis in there, like weird guys, and he just checked out. He didn't, he wasn't paying attention. And by the time he finally did, like he finally like woke, he was like, okay guys, we're not doing this, we're not doing like Hitler stuff, we're not doing this and that. Like, well, it's a little too late, because now this is like now a tenant of your group that you decided to be an absentee landlord for, and now you want to come down with the hammer, but it's too late. You know what I mean? So that's what it was. And yeah, and I'd go out drinking with Gavin, and he, like one time he's like, oh, I'm out at this place, and it was like it was a bunch of his Proud Boys. But this is early on. This is before they got like really like in the news with like crazy shit. And they were such weirdos. They were like like weird, like lost puppies who found this group. And I was like, I remember saying to Gavin, I was like, this, and I think Mike David had a similar conversation with him. But I was like, dude, like these guys are a little like this is not a good look for you. Like you're you're almost 50 and you're hanging out with these 20 something guys wearing like these Fred Perry gold and black shirts. It's like, you don't think like these guys are a little, it's like, no, I don't. They're great. This is great. You're like, what? I'm like, okay. Like a Larry David, okay, like, okay, whatever. That's you do you. And then we kind of drifted apart over the years, but whatever. It's like I just think he was so talented and such a great commentator on lifestyle things, and like how men should dress and how to behave in a bar. And he had a book that was okay, even though it was a little self-indulgent. But he had a movie. Like right before that, he had a movie that came out, I think, in 2015, How to Be a Man. It's actually pretty funny. And man, it's just such a weird turn. Anyway. It's just strange. So but I'd still be curious what he said about PCL. I need a smoking jacket right now. I am freezing my ass off at the moment because I'm just in a t-shirt. I need that. So I really want to get those jackets. I want to get like a nice jacket. What the point was, not sure. Yeah, who knows? Points are often lost at this hour. Oh man, I need a jacket so bad. This is the first week, at least here in the East Coast. I don't know if you're feeling it where you are, Jesus. This is the first week where that cool fall air started to blow in, and you always forget about it, and then it's like, oh, here we go. It's the fall. It's officially cold. Not cold. It's getting cold. Mike and I says, all other stuff aside, it's hard to take Kevin seriously after getting his ass kicked by Perry. That is true. He literally got his ass kicked by Perry. I love the fall too. I'm just not prepared for it. That's my problem this year. It's like I have this room here, which I showed you guys on Sunday, that is so not prepared for the colder weather, and I had to stop working on it. I mean, I wasn't working on it. The contractor was working on it, and when all the money started adding, I was like, yeah, I can't afford to finish this room, but now I have to find a way. I got to take a fucking loan out or something like that to finish it, because I can't freeze my ass off in here doing PCL 3 days a week. I'm gonna have to literally wear gloves and a hat eventually if this goes much further. I dated a goth chick who loved fall because the smell of death in the air was referencing to the ease that. God, those goth people can be so annoying. Like, I love the look of a goth girl. Like, I think there's a hot look, but man, they are so annoying. Or at least they used to be. I don't know what modern goths are. Yeah, he's not a bad contractor, Hannah. He's just he thought the job was going to be done all in one go, and I never wanted that. I wanted the top part of the room kind of demoed out so I can access certain things, because I had to change the dynamics of it for a lot of reasons, and I'm glad we did, because a lot of things that were underneath were not insulated properly. So it was good that we took it out anyway. But it's just, I wanted to like put like speaker wires in there and stuff, and I was just like, oh my god. Like when you ever think of something in your head and you think it's going to be easier than it is, or like simpler, like a task, whatever it is, could be a work thing or whatever, and then when you actually execute it, it's so much bigger and so much more complicated than you possibly thought. I was like, oh boy. So that's kind of what it was. So it was just a combination of things. And I was like, in my head, I had it one way, and then reality is entirely something else. So, did Kyle Roberts said, did Gavin really go to Perry's Chili Cook-Off years ago and steal shit like he claims? Yeah, he did. He was in there. I remember. Yeah, he was in Perry's apartment, and he was the drunkest I've ever seen him. He was blackout drunk. Like blackout drunk, and he was going in Perry's bathroom and pissing all over the place. He stole a bunch of Perry's like joke cards and stuff, which I have a lot of Perry's joke cards too, that I didn't steal. Perry gave. We were actually going to auction them off. We were going to auction off some of his old joke cards. I still have them. Maybe we'll put them in a PCL auction at some point. Like I have his original grocery store routine written out on cards, like his original. And that's the thing I actually give Perry a lot of credit for, writing out his ideas, his jokes. Like there's one of them, literally, it's like a blue card. It says like, "Why are women such whores and bitches?" And then he on the flip side, he wrote it like it was like he's like, "Because they need men to," whatever the beats of it were. But Gavin has a stack of them. He did. If you ever look at the Gavin McGinnis show when I was on it, he whipped out a bunch of those cards. So yeah, he took a stack full. He had like documents and stuff. He went into Perry's filing cabinet and just like literally took out, like was ripping out like just whatever kind of document he can get his hands on, and like stuffed them under his shirt. And then I think we got him an Uber. The crazy thing about that is, what's the guy's name? Justin Thoreau. He was staying with Jennifer Aniston and Justin Thoreau. He was friends with them. That's back at the time where Gavin had celebrity friends. That's who he was staying with. He had to get an Uber back to Jennifer Aniston's after being in Perry's apartment for years. Can I share anything about Dominic Monaghan? I don't have a lot of interactions with him, but the ones I had were very cool. Like he was a very cool guy. Except, I will say, we had that pool party, and it was a very finite number of people we could have there. And so I was in contact with Dominic, and I said, hey, it's very tight, how many people we can have at this party. I think we were capped at like 50. And I said, yeah, so you can bring somebody. And he showed up with like 6 people. Clearly didn't care. But other than that, very cool guy. Very nice. I remember he drove a Tesla, which was cool. He showed up to the party at a Model S, which was nice. Geez, can I possibly book Perry to do stand up? I can't see him doing stand up at this stage. I can't see it. But, I just, not only, I can't see it in so many different ways. I can't see him putting the effort into it. Gavin seems overly cruel to Perry. I'm glad they never did the fight. Yeah, again, I said this before. Gavin always had that line of like, in order to work with Perry, you have to hate him. Like, everybody that works with Perry hates his fucking guts, and that's what makes it fine. Like, nah, that's not true. I mean, yeah, there are some people that do, but that was never true for me, obviously. And I always thought that was such a bullshit mentality. Johnny Pretzels just sent a video of him watching PCL. He doesn't say much, but he mentions Perry frequently. But would be yeah, okay. I'll pass on playing that. I'll watch it though. But yeah, Sunday he needs to do the dyslexic. What's the dyslexic joke? I don't know. It is fun. Like, see. There was one, I forget which one it was. There was one of the egg jokes where he had to come up with 5 egg jokes tonight for that Sergeant Funk offer, and one of them came close to being an actual joke that I thought was going somewhere. And I was like, see, that's Perry. He is funny. Like, he can be funny if he puts his mind mind to it. And then, but under the pressure of the moment, it collapses. But I thought for a minute he was going to get something. He couldn't remember he was going to King of Crabs. How could he remember jokes for stand-up? That's true. Yeah, can you imagine, like, Perry on stage now, and like, all right, oh, fuck, what was I going to say? Oh, fuck. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I am brain dead right now. Runes does it, on that note, does it ever bug me when people don't get it and are generally abusive to Perry, not ball busting or in a joke, but generally cool? Yes, absolutely. I hate mean-spiritedness in general, but especially when it comes to Perry. Yeah, there's definitely a line. And yeah, absolutely. It doesn't happen so much now. It feels like just about everybody's on the same page. But yeah, there's been a couple of instances where it's like, ooh, this is, this person's not getting it. And it's just like, there's genuine hatred there. Or there's a general wish to see Perry not do well. Or like, or not to see him do well, but like to see him do poorly. He needs me in my, yeah, right. I'll be in his ear. Like, Perry, remember? Okay, the next bit's the grocery bit. Okay, grocery bit. How does that go? Okay, Perry, the grocery bit. Come on, pay attention. I'm sorry, I gotta pee. You're not gonna like this, guys, but I gotta pee. No, Perry, you can't do that right now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. Plus, where's he gonna go? Where's he gonna perform? Stand-up comedy's over too. Really, they just don't know it yet. But stand-up comedy is on its way out. I think. I could be wrong, but I think it's on its way out. It's gonna take a while. There's still so many dopey people that go to see these shows. So, it's gonna take a while. Perry holds his own on the phone. If you give him room, he's no pussy. No, that's true. He's not. King of Crabs open mic night. Yeah. All you can eat crab and comedy. I would have liked, that camera was so close up on him. I would have liked to have seen security cam footage from King of Crabs when he walked in there in the Humpty Dumpty outfit. understanding what the reaction was. Like, that's what I love about Perry, is the fearlessness that I don't have, and I don't know too many people that do. Like, there's a thing, like, even going out in public, like, I try to keep to myself. I don't like. I have a hard time asking people for things. Like, he did this on his own. Like, he went there last night, and then he asked the guy, I don't know if it was the waiter or the manager, to like take video of him outside of King of Crabs and reviewing it, which is ballsy, and takes a crazy amount of confidence, or I don't know, absence of humility. Or I've said this before. Perry is bereft of shame, so there's no shame. But but it's ballsy. The same balls that gets you up on a stage to begin with. Asking a total, like, I would never do that. I would never in a million years ask, hey, can you hold this my phone for me while I do a video outside of your restaurant and give a review? I mean, unbelievable. I mean, I give him a shit ton of credit for that. And the fact that he walked around tonight, like I thought it'd be more of a battle getting him there. He put up a little bit of resistance, but not that much. He walked out in the Humpty Dumpty suit, like down Reseda Boulevard. And can you imagine, like, just the people driving by, looking at him from a distance, holding that selfie stick, like, with the camera, like, holy, like, I'm surprised, like, a car didn't screech its brakes. Like, did I just see that? You're walking down, and then he walks into the thing, and you can catch some people staring at him, but he doesn't care. He's fearless. Like, he knows, like he said when he put, I look stupid, whatever, but you would not get me out of the house wearing that. I don't, I mean, I don't know, maybe you would for a certain amount of money, but fearless, absolutely fearless. And people dismiss that, or not that they dismiss it. There's so many other things to pay attention to with Perry, because with Perry there's so many layers. So you're paying attention to the moment where he's in there and what he's saying. But look at the overall picture of Perry walking in there dressed as Humpty fucking Dumpty and looking like he does. And just being fearless. Like, he's not embarrassed about it. He goes in there even when he goes in that Cafe Lou, he's holding the camera. He's fearless. Absolutely fearless. You have to give him all the credit in the world for that. And then he leaves there. He leaves King of Crabs. He goes to 7-Eleven, where a fan recognizes him as Humpty Dumpty, no less. And he's talking, he's waiting in line. I would be so cringed out. I would be so self-conscious and so embarrassed. I would have abandoned that in 2 seconds. But he still did the thing with the egg. He did Hannah's thing where he talked about organic eggs to the guy behind the counter. I'm Perry Caravello from Perry Caravello Live, and it's unbelievable. And I wish I could see the bigger picture camera, like the camera in the 7-Eleven and everybody looking at him. And then he leaves, and I flippantly suggest, to which I thought he would yell at me, go bring that egg to Denny's and ask him to cook it for you. And he did it, and that's one of the moments where he got it. And I know people probably don't like that when he's like, quote unquote in on it, or he is willingly doing something. But I thought that was so great that he walked into Denny's dressed like that, asked the guy to cook the egg. And again, it's hard to see all the people reaction, but I said to him, say I am the Eggman. He's like, I am the Eggman. And like everybody's looking at him. I mean, I'd be mortified. You would be mortified. But he did it. He did it. He went in there and he did it. And that's what's beautiful about him. And something that I just love so much, the quality that I just, again, whatever the mathematics of it is, and the combination and the genetics, or, what wires are crossed, what wires aren't crossed, that allows him to do that. I just give him a ton of credit. And I think that's why I think that's why a PCL Live event will be so great, because of that. So it's just great. I do prefer him being obstinate to a point, but in that moment, I loved him being agreeable. So there are times where I like him being agreeable, and him scream, like, okay, for example, when I said, hey, go to Denny's and bring this egg in, yes, it would be funny if he screamed at me in the 7-Eleven parking lot and said, F you, I'm turning this off, or whatever. I'm not doing that. okay, that's fine, because we've seen that, and that would be expected. But the fact that he said yes and agreed to it is exactly why people, I think, tune into Perry Caravello live consistently. Because if it was the same thing over and over again, if he was the same Perry every stream, it would get redundant and it would get boring. Even I would get bored. But he's different. He's a different. You're never gonna get the same version of Perry. Like okay, like for example, there's even times where I replay comments because he talked over it or for whatever other reason. He doesn't even react to the comments the same way twice. You got to catch him. It's a combination. Is he what mood is he in? What comment preceded it? What's on his mind? So in that moment where he went to Denny's, I was really happy that he decided to go, because it was different and it was unexpected, and it made me smile. And it's like that's what I love about Perry. That's what I love about PCL, is that you never, like for instance, like Wednesday's stream was great for all these reasons, and then tonight's stream was great for a complete set of different reasons. It was still great but different. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yes, he's worn costumes before, and yes, he's done these things before, but there's nuances that are very different, and he's different from stream to stream. He's different from day to day. He's different from hour to hour. And yes, there's some things that are always going to trigger the same way, but sometimes it doesn't. And that's what I like. I don't know if I'm doing a good job at explaining that, but I liked when he went into Denny's willingly and got a kick out of it. I really enjoyed that, and I don't know if I'm alone in that, but to me, that I don't know, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Somebody says, you stay so calm when he says I'm firing you. I kind of want to hear you say, what the fuck are you going to do without me? Yeah, I mean, that happens so much that I've been fired so many times. Because he says things in the moment. He doesn't think things through. So, yeah, I know what you mean. But it wouldn't make any sense for me to fight back on that. I think it's always better to play it like, oh, okay. I mean, once in a while I'll lose my cool. I'm like, what are you talking about? But most of the time he fires me. I find it amusing. When he asked about my dad, it showed his good side. Yeah, and Perry does have a good side. He does. You're not always going to see it in the moment where he's heated up about, a slew of 92 comments or something like that. But he does. He has a genuinely good heart, I think. And there's times where he's selfish, or he exhibits so many human qualities that you would see in a toddler, that you'd want to course correct in a toddler, like selfishness, that you can course correct as a parent or as a whatever. With Perry, you can't necessarily course correct those because he's pretty set in stone. But I am proud of myself. I've course corrected a lot of things with him that I didn't think were possible. But look, I think there's a level of decency in Perry, which is not always easy to see. And I'll tell you the truth, I would not have gone as out of my way for him over the past few years as I have if he wasn't a decent person at the core. Going back a little bit, Mumble said, wokeness is the death of stand-up because everyone's so afraid to be offensive, which is why the death of Norm is such a tragedy. I agree with that. The death of I don't give a fuck comedy, which, yeah, and that's true. When Norm passed away, boy, that hit me so hard. Still, I mean, it's not that long ago. But, yeah, comedy... Because I would always say, like, when stand-up comedy came up, everybody sucks. Everybody sucks in stand-up comedy. All these shitty fucking comment, all of them, they all suck. But except Norm. Norm's great. And it would almost be like the free pass to like, but Norm's still in comedy, so it still has something going for it. But now that he's gone, yeah, I mean, at least for me, it's completely over. Completely over. I will never step inside another shitty stand-up club again. You're talking about him like he's your special needs son who just found his sport in the Special Olympics. I guess it comes off that way. I don't know. There's times where I'm proud of him. Like there's times where I'm really proud of him. Like and it's hard for me to keep that in. Like I'm proud of him when he does certain things. Like wow, that's not something you would have done a couple of years ago, or even in some instances, a few months ago. And so I don't know. I know what you mean. I guess it can come off that way. Rogan comedian friends ruin comedy. I totally understand what you're saying with that. Rogan and his whole crew of cronies is pretty terrible. Yeah, it's just there's nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. But I think that's why people gravitate to Perry too. Is like it's just I know there's a lot of new people that like tune in for him like scream like there was somebody that said the other night like Perry was like I don't know like not biting on certain things or whatever, and somebody was and a new person I could tell they were new was writing in the chat like this is boring, scream and yell at stuff, and it just doesn't work that way. He's kind of a work of art in that respect, and that's what I like. I like the diversity within Perry, where you're just slightly different all the time. Ari is the best of the Rogan crew. I don't. Is he really considered part of the Rogan crew? I don't know. I think Ari kind of ended it for himself last year when he was doing that Kobe Bryant thing. Um, not that it was like so offensive. It's just that he now like Ari has this thing where he always like makes like a nasty remark when somebody passes away, and then he got such flack for it with Kobe. He had to go into hiding, and then he started doing it again. I'm like, oh no, you can't go back to doing that. That was killed for you, and now he's still doing. Like he even tried to do it with Norm, and it was like, oh, you're so lame. Johnny Pro says, I did a tip comment a while back as a gay fan and said my partner loved PCL too, and Perry gave me the whole honored and thank you. And it was awesome. Perry getting way more positive. Yeah, I exactly. He Perry did a cameo. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago now, and it was like legitimately for a gay couple that were getting married, and he actually gave them a nice cameo. He was like, you can. He was joking around saying you should invite me to the wedding. Okay, well, this isn't necessarily, he did slip in his Perryisms, like, okay, well, I don't necessarily get it, but hey, look, you know what? I hope you guys have a nice life together. Hope you do, and it was sweet. I was kind of, I vet any cameo, like, he submits them to me before they're submitting to cameo, because and not because I'm afraid of what he's going to say. I just don't want him to do a boring one. I just don't want him to do like mail it in, which he very rarely does now. In fact, we've come to the point now with his cameos where I don't know, like even 6 months ago, I'd have to call like Perry. You can't send this one in. Nobody wants to get this cameo. You're reading from the thing. You're not giving anything. Start over. And when we first started doing them, like I was pretty much on the phone with him, like monitoring them live. I don't have to do that anymore. He's pretty good with it on his own, and I was shocked at that one. Not shocked, but I was pleasantly surprised with how good that one turned out. He was really nice to these two guys, and it wasn't a case of people like making it up to make him go off. It was legitimately two guys getting married, and they gave him a nice review. They even wrote me and said how it made their day, and they were kind of trepidatious about ordering the cameo, and they were kind of afraid if Perry was going to lay into them or whatever. But They said it made their day. It was such a nice thing that he gave them such warm wishes and stuff. So that was awesome. Did I ever like the Laughter Died version of Dice Clay? I do remember liking it because it was so cringy and different than any other comedy album at the time. I remember listening to it. I bought it on cassette, listening to it in school. And again, listening to Dice was like you were getting away with something. Uh, because basically, if you're not familiar, the day Laughter died, Dice recorded this thing where he goes into danger fields in New York City, like during the holiday season, with no prepared material and just riffs. And he's not exactly the greatest riffer, but he's doing the Dice character and everything. I haven't heard it in decades, but I remember liking it a lot and I'm not understanding what I was listening to. And then years later, I found out that he just went in there and had no material and just kind of deliberately bombed and then released it as an album. I thought that was cool. But I mean, I'm not a big Dice fan, to be honest with you, but I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting, so I did like that. Yeah, I've not always been completely anti-comedy. There's things that I've liked. The DSP crossover is great. DSP is a truly loathsome creature worthy of any derision. It's funny. I've said this before. I didn't know who DSP was until I mean DSP is a completely manufactured um, antagonist for Perry. Not the fact that he's a very real person, but there was just I think it was Scott's idea originally to like get that kind of rivalry thing going or whatever, and it's just taken on this incredible life. And the fact that PCL has picked up so many fans that were either not DSP fans but people that actively just like hated DSP, Dark Side Phil, that they're now like diehard PCL people. It's crazy. It's crazy how DSP has become the absolute perfect villain for Perry and PCL as a whole. I think it's great. Yeah, I agree with you. Poem Dice is horrible, but yeah, there's some stuff that holds up. I haven't seen any of his old stand. I just remember in his initial run, I remember following Dice to a certain point and then realizing like, oh, this is kind of over. He doesn't have anything now. Like this is like it almost felt like his act was written by somebody else, and that person who was writing the act was no longer involved. And I have no way. I don't know if that's true or not. That's the way it felt to me. Yeah, I don't know if John Diver had anything to do with the DSP thing at all, but there was definitely once DSP's name came up, there were definitely people that fed that flame really hard. Um, Big ups to N1337. Yeah, I noticed he came up in like tonight as a subscriber. So yeah, who played the PCL a lot, like restreamed it live a few weeks ago. There's a lot of people that came on board from that alone. Has anyone watched the doc Drunk, Stoned, Brilliant, Dead? No, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any documentaries lately. I was really into this thing about. I was really watching documentaries on YouTube about the mafia, but mafia to a certain point, like especially mafia in like the '80s and '90s, like mafia during my lifetime, I find very interesting, but real documentaries, not like fake TV shows. And then I was wondering about like what the mafia is like now, and I was trying to find a documentary on like modern day mafia, like what do they do, like how do they make money, like how, like do they still, like are they still in any of those things that they did. Was I disappointed with the lack of recognition of Norm's passing? You expect? I thought he got pretty good attention, to be honest with you. I was more annoyed with the amount of people that gave this praise to Norm that I knew that Norm hated. You know, like somebody like Seth Meyers doing a eulogy. Like Norm hates Seth Meyers, hated Seth Meyers, and then Seth Meyers does this whole thing like, "Oh, we lost Norm today." Again, Norm hated you, you know, and the list goes on and on. So it was more about, you know, whenever somebody dies, like all these people talking about how brilliant Norm was. Oh, he was the great. It's like, you didn't know Norm. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of people that came out and talked about Norm, who, you know, never would have said anything otherwise. Never would have had him on their shows or anything like that. Besides the Stones, who's my bucket list band or artist still touring that I want to see live? It's a very small list. The only people left are like ones that I probably should see, but I'm not crazy about. Like U2, I've never seen U2, but I feel like, I don't know, the time to see U2 is probably years ago. Maybe, but even then, I don't know if I'd be that motivated. But it's a band that I feel like I should see. Good night, Cha Cha. Have sweet dreams. I'm going to be following behind you real quick, because it's getting real cold in here. That's a great question. Like, what band is still around? No, you know what? I'm going to answer the question. I'd like to see The Who. I've never seen The Who. I would put The Who over U2. I would like to see The Who. They still tour. So my answer is The Who. Definitively The Who. I'd also like to see Brian Wilson. I know he's touring again, and I've never seen him, even though I don't know if I'd be crazy into it, but I feel like that's somebody I should see. Probably the time to see him is when he was playing Pet Sounds, like beginning to end. You paid a lot to see The Who when it rocked. I bet. Again, I feel like I probably should have seen them years ago, but I would like to see. I'd really like to see The Who. Yeah, I mean, there's not too many. There's not too many around anymore. There's not too many of those bands that, like, you know. Thankfully, I've seen most people that I've wanted to see. Like most people that I've really cared about. Like I've seen the Ramones a number of times before they retired, and you know, definitely since before Joey passed away. I've seen Bowie a number of times, which I've talked about. You saw Pink Floyd touring Roger Waters. Yeah, that'd be good too. I wouldn't mind. I'm not a big Pink Floyd guy, but I'd like to see. You know, I respect the hell out of them. Yeah, I'm the same way, Mo. I passed on Brian Wilson because he was too expensive. Same thing, and yeah, I should have sucked it up. There's a lot of examples like that where I passed up on a show because it was too expensive, and then you know what? I think back and I'm like, you know what? I could have went a couple of days without eating. You know, I could have been late on my rent, or like you could have found a way to make it work. First real stadium concert was Guns N' Roses and Metallica at Giants Stadium in '92, summer of '92, for me. It was in high school, and I remember. I forget how I got the ticket. I forgot how I got the money for the tickets. The tickets weren't cheap for then, but that was my first big stadium concert. Yeah, the Ramones were great. You know, again, I didn't see them. I didn't see the Ramones when they were like, you know, of course, you know, it's the time to see the Ramones is probably in the late '70s, maybe very early '80s. I saw them in like '90 shit. I saw them in '91. Luckily, at a small club in New York City. But they were all, you know, it was past the prime. But and then I saw them a lot in '94, their last tour. It was fine. It was great. I could say that I saw the Ramones, but I didn't feel like I saw it the best. best. I saw Fugazi a bunch of times because they were famous for doing $5 tickets. It was like the cheapest show you can possibly go to. But yeah, I had a lot. There was a period in the '90s I was just going to concerts. Like I'd go to see anybody that was playing in New York, and I saw so many good. Like I saw Oasis at a place called, and I'm not a big Oasis guy, but I saw Oasis at Wetlands, which is this little tiny club in New York City, in like '94. They were pretty big. They're not pretty. They were huge in England, but they weren't that big here. And they play and to see them in a little small place like that was really cool. But I got a lot of stories like that. Oh, that's interesting. So Santa you get to hear the Prince concert because your dorm was next door to the venue. That's pretty cool. You saw the Ramones in '96. How's that possible? Were they playing? Maybe I'm thinking. Oh, weren't they? Yeah, no. Maybe I'm thinking of '95. When was that farewell tour? Did you really see the Ramones in '96? I didn't think they were touring in '96. I saw Joey Ramone solo quite a bit in the late '90s. Going to Ween 3 nights over Halloween in Colorado. Well, I can't say anything. I don't know. I don't know Ween. Primal Scream opening for Noel Gallagher is pretty cool in New Orleans. Oh, Lollapalooza. That's right. Okay, that's very cool. So you saw them as late as you could possibly see them. I think it might have been '95, but you definitely that was definitely. I think they did because I saw their last ever show in New York, and I think it was '94, like late '94, and I remember my friend getting kicked out of the show and trying to get back in. Um, and then they went to South America and did a big tour down there. What shows have I seen at CBGB's? I didn't see. What did I see? I'm trying to think of people that I saw a lot of small bands there. I saw Blondie, Deborah Harry rather at CBGB's. It was Deborah Harry, and I saw David Johansen at CBGB's, but not New York Dolls. And I saw Joey Ramone at CBGB's solo, but not with the Ramones at CBGB's. So I saw like a lot of like front people from bands that you'd want to see in like the '70s at CBGB's. I'm probably a couple. I went to CBGB's a couple of times because it was like the thing. You know, it was a cool place to be. But yeah, I'd have to think. I don't remember if it was any specific band that would like jump out at you like, oh my god, you saw that. Basically anybody I saw at CBGB's was like up and coming, nobody you knew of, or like an elder states person that just doing like a little solo gig or whatever. Last concert I saw was Jedi Mind Tricks in Calgary. No, I never heard of them. Did I see Angelus or Retribution on tour? No, I missed those. Sorry. No. I saw REM at Irving Plaza, which is a really small venue in New York City, and there was like a warm up show. I think MTV taped it, or MTV had something to do with it. And I forgot. I think a friend of mine had a ticket for that, and I got in like last minute. That was really cool. That was like 90. It was late '90s. See, like Momo said, you'll see Talking Heads, but you'll settle for David Byrne. I would see David Byrne, but I'd settle for Talking Heads. I'm the other way around. But there's no like anybody I really like is either retired or dead. At this point, I am seeing the Monkees at the end of the. In fact, that's why I have a conflict with PCL actually, and I've never pulled this move, but I'm seeing the Monkees in New York on the 24th, and I'm seeing them twice. They're playing on Long Island and they're playing in New York City. The Long Island show's on a Thursday, so there's no conflict. I'm missing. There's another show in Connecticut that I would normally go to, but it's on a Friday, and I'm going to choose PCL over that. But it's only two. It's only Mickey Dolenz and Mike Nesmith, but they're playing in New York on the Sunday. So I figured, oh, that'll be a good opportunity to do a mobile Monday. So that's that. So that's really them and Morrissey are really the only two really steady. And Morrissey's so bad now, at least live, that I don't see myself seeing him anytime soon. Where yeah, any of my top artists are gone. You know, Bowie unfortunately is gone. I think if Bowie didn't pass away, he probably would have done an amazing like final tour. That would have been great for a lot of people who never got to see him. So it's a major bummer that he passed away. But I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I mean, all my top people are like broken up or gone. So really, the only bands that are left are like that I haven't seen live are like Rolling Stones, The Who. There's not too many others. Anybody else would be like U2. I'm very on. I don't mind U2, but I'm like not big on them. So if they were touring, I'd be like like if somebody gave me a free ticket, and it was like within an hour drive, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, let's go. But to make plans and actually buy the tickets on my own, I don't know. Tom, you sound like me. I saw the I would totally see the Turtles. Saw the Totals and saw John Sebastian and got to kind of step back in time, and it felt surreal. Yeah, that's what's cool about those things. It's like you can just to say that you were there. I've seen Depeche Mode. I saw Depeche Mode in '93. I saw them once, and I'm not a huge Depeche Mode guy. But again, it's that street cred that you could say you saw them. It's like I don't know. There's so many. There's so many. I also think the past year and a half kind of fucked me up too, and I'm sure other people are like that, where you're just kind of not going anywhere. Like I always hate when Perry drones on about the pandemic, like it's still there. Like I haven't gone anywhere, and like you never go anywhere. It's like the pandemic didn't change your lifestyle all that much. But even going to see Guns N' Roses, I saw Guns N' Roses last I don't know, no back in August, and that took a lot for me to like get out of that comfort zone of like, oh no, it's time to go to a show again. And a friend of mine really like presented it to me like, let's buy tickets like last minute and go. And I'm so glad I went. I'm so glad I went because it was a great show. But I normally wouldn't go. Um, yeah, the Happy Together tour. I think the Monkees did that once, or Mickey Dolenz did it. I think the Happy Together tour was like the Turtles, Flo and Eddie, and then they had like Herman's Hermits was another band on that tour, and I'd like to see them, but uh, uh, Tommy, have you ever been to a rap concert? They are so bad, like 10 dudes on stage half screaming the lyrics. No, I've not been to a rap concert. No, I'm just, it's, like I said, I don't mind some old school rap. Um, and when I say I don't mind, if it comes on, I'll listen to it, but I don't go out of my way to play it. Um, but no, I would. I'm just a guitar rock fan. It has to, and I'm a strong inclination towards singer songwriter. I like the person that I'm listening to singing. It means something to me if they wrote the lyrics rather than it was written for them. So that's more my wheelhouse. But yeah, it's just it's sad to like because it wasn't always the case. This has happened really over the past decade, because even 15 years ago, pretty much everybody I liked was still around, and I could see them at any time, not any time, but when they toured. And then slowly but surely they just like, oh, that's crossed off the list. Oh, REM broke up. That's gone. Oh, Bowie died. No, this person died. Would love to see a Smiths reunion with Morrissey and Marr. I go back and forth on if that's ever going to happen. I think it's probably past the point now. But there was a couple of years ago where I was like, "Ooh, this could happen," but I don't. I don't say it. I would like to see that too. And a lot of people, a lot of Smiths fans say they don't want to see that, like they don't want to see like Morrissey and Marr now, and that to keep it. I think that's bullshit. I would spend thousands of dollars on a ticket. I would go bankrupt. Like seeing more than one show. So yeah, I agree with you. I'd like that. But do I see that as a likelihood? No. It would just it'd be so easy for them I mean, they would just. I mean, it would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous. It would be a completely huge stadium tour, and they could charge whatever they want. And I'm a Smiths fan. I don't. And by the way, I don't hate Morrissey at all. I love Morrissey. In fact, large part of me prefers Morrissey as a solo artist to the Smiths. But I just, I don't know. I don't see it. Unfortunately, it's like even if REM like they broke up, like they should get back. They should just do a tour. They don't have to make new music. They could do a tour, but they I don't think that'll happen either. And I saw them plenty. I'm completely fine with what I had, but I grew up really liking REM, and it's a bummer that's just not an option anymore. Oh, John, I didn't know that about you. Okay, you're a career musician engineer and hard stopped touring in January 2020 and haven't played since. It's really weird. Came from Japan back to the States a week later and everything was over. Yeah, I have a good friend of mine that's a lighting guy. That was like a lighting touring guy that would just do lighting for different artists, and he's the same way. Hasn't done anything since like yeah, right around that time, January February 2020. It's like everything. Yeah, it's kind of strange. Is there any way to completely destroy electronic music for good? Just end it all. It's a weird genre. I gotta say, it's especially it's so weird to me. Like those festivals where all those people. Like I have a friend of mine that works on those festivals, and I went to one once, just to kind of like, just out of pure curiosity, and it's just crazy. Like these people, they like just stand at it in this huge crowd, and I hate crowds anyway. Just to watch somebody basically DJing and like playing all these weird sounds and everything. I can't wrap my head around it, but you know, whatever. People are into it. Oh wow, you skipped your first tour back in August, and the singer died. Jesus. Yeah, drugs, and I didn't see any sex. I saw plenty of drugs though. Yeah, I don't know, and I think like even Paul McCartney. I've seen Paul McCartney a number of times, and I think his voice is just he's really lost a lot of his timbre in the voice, and I don't know how much longer he can go. Like I don't know if he's going to be touring again or if he is. I mean, look, I've seen him a number of times now, and I'm happy with the times that I've seen him because I think he gives a great show, an amazing show. Even if you're not a huge Beatles fan, you just can't deny what kind of a show he puts on, and it gives you really everything. It gives you everything you'd want to hear, everything you'd want to hear, and does a 3 hour plus show. But I like the last time I saw him, he just didn't have the pipes like you know. And again, he's old. He's really you know he's like 80 or something or in his 80s, and so that's another thing too that you just you know I've talked about retiring and death, but you know things age you out. Yeah, it is six. It is 6 a.m., isn't it? And we went 9 hours. I probably should go. Yeah, Perry's gotta have your breakfast. That was great, by the way, Perry. He was so confused by that. Perry making you breakfast really made me laugh tonight. Like it just, it was so funny because he was so befuddled. He's like, "You're not coming here. I'm not making you breakfast." It was great. What was the thing you kept saying to him over and over again? The statement that he got frustrated with. I forget. I totally I like electronic club music, but totally don't get the let's watch a DJ stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah, McCartney is amazing. For if you get a chance to see him, definitely see him. I've seen it all before. That's it. What have you seen? I think that was great. You felt that way with Jagger when you saw him. Yeah, the thing with the Stones too is like, I look at their set list now, and they play for less than 90 minutes, which I totally get. By the way, I totally get it. Like they have like 18 songs on their set list, whereas even 15 years ago, maybe even a decade ago more, they'd play for close to 3 hours. But they don't give those marathon shows anymore, like a guy like Springsteen does. And Springsteen, I know, is on a lot of, not for, I'm just not a Springsteen guy. Like if somebody dragged me to a show, I'd probably go. But I know he does like insane, like 4 hour close shows where he just belts. That's incredible. Um, but yeah, so like the Stones now, if you see them now, you're gonna get the greatest hits, and that's it. You're gonna get not even the greatest hits. You're gonna get the greatest of the greatest hits. So there's no room for like, you know, some kind of random B side or like a deep album cut or something like that. You're getting all the hits nonstop, which is great. But I feel like if you would have saw them in like '89 or shit, like even uh, like '97 or something like that, or even like 2000. I think their last really good big tour was like maybe 2006, and I had a chance to see them in 2006, and I foolishly turned it down, and it's such a huge regret. Um, Such a huge regret. I had a chance to see him at the Apollo Theater, and I turned it down. At the time, I thought I was being benevolent to somebody, because the person who was Keith Richards' personal assistant was also Morrissey's personal assistant for a time, and I was friends with her because of that, and she offered me a ticket to this. The Stones were playing a couple of nights at the Apollo Theater. One of them was filmed by Martin Scorsese, and said, "Hey, I can get you in if you want a ticket." It was like Halloween or something like that, and I was going back to school at the time, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what an asshole!" I was like, you know what? Why don't you give it to somebody who would appreciate it a little more? I was like, give it to a real Stones fan, because I won't appreciate it as much. Because at the time, I was still like in my snobbery phase where I was like, oh, I like the Stones. They're okay, but I'm not, great. Holy shit, what a moron! Oh my god. Even thinking about it now, I just want to punch myself in the face. Fucking have a chance to see them at a venue like that, and you're gonna play like you're too good for it. Not that I was too good for it. I meant it when I said, I was like, oh, give it to. But, she had the free ticket. She didn't know anybody. I don't even know where that ticket went. What a moron. God, I'm so stupid. God, I made so many mistakes. It's a miracle that I'm even a functioning adult at this point. With the, I mean, we all have that, but it's like, you got to own your mistakes, and boy, that's one of mine. That's like popcorn divider regret. Totally like popcorn divider regret. Oh my god, it's so popcorn divider regret. That's a great callback. Yeah, Aerosmith. I saw somebody mention Aerosmith. Never had a thing for Aerosmith. I wouldn't see them if they were playing in my backyard. To be perfectly honest with you, I'd probably call the cops. Sent in a Ric Flair strut behind the couch way too late. I figured that would be some. You know what? There were already two other things on deck for the bathroom thing. It's like Belushi with his regular one, and then Johnny Pretzels had one with the football gimmick. So the Flair strut, yeah. I wanted to get more into a Flair conversation, but he doesn't know anything about wrestling. So I was watching Flair. Flair was on my brain this week because I was watching that. Again, that Wrestling Bios YouTube channel, and it was, he was covering what for me is the most fascinating section of Flair's career, is when he was in the WWF for that brief time for like 2 years, like 91 to 93 maybe, or not even. Such a fascinating time period where he was still. I thought he was the best, and I know Flair said he regrets ever leaving the WWF because he left the WWF and then goes to WCW, and WCW becomes like the Hogan show for, the next decade. But I always was fascinated with. And by the way, I'm a Hulk Hogan fan through and through. I'm 100%. I grew up as a Hulkamaniac. Still like watching Hogan receive, watching Hogan come out to Real American still brings tears to my eyes. Like that's how ingrained I am to Hogan. But I am fascinated by Flair. And yeah, I agree with you. The Flair Savage WrestleMania 8 storyline's great, but it should have been Flair Hogan. It should have been Flair Hogan. Total missed opportunity. But there's Belushi. We were just talking about you. We were literally just talking about you. Said I missed the whole stream. Came on to see if the video and demand is up and it's still going. Well, yeah. Well, it's not still going. It's after hours. Perry bailed a few hours ago. Perry ended very angrily. Yeah, I agree. Jesus said it right. Hogan is a part of American culture. If you're around in the 80s, you understand how big and important Hogan was. Absolutely. WWF, WWE is the house that Hogan built. And obviously McMahon gets a lot of credit for that too, but Hogan built that industry. And you can make fun of his in-ring ability or whatever. Nobody worked a crowd better. He helped sell stories really well. I mean, if you really break down that whole lead up to Andre the Giant Hogan at WrestleMania 3, like look at the little segments like the contract signing or the Piper's Pit where Hogan found out that Andre had turned and was with Bobby Heenan. He really sells those stories, and he's just great. I know a lot of people say, talk shit about him sometimes, but I mean, there's just no denying what he did, and I've been watching a lot of his stuff from WCW, which I checked out of. I wasn't a WCW guy at all in the '90s, and I was watching, but I was aware of the NWO stuff because it was such a big story when Hogan turned heel. But I was watching all that build up, which I had never really seen before outside of clips. But I was watching the whole build up of when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came into WCW as like the outsiders, and people didn't know like what the deal was, and they were kind of acting like they were sent on the behalf of WWF, and how well that was sold leading up to Hogan turning and joining them. Unbelievable stuff, great stuff, and I regret actually not seeing that live because I probably would have went crazy for it, but I just was checked out. Oh, sorry, I said the stream. I meant after hours. I didn't refer to pre-after hours stream or anything. There was a lot of after hours goading towards the end that almost went a little too far tonight because he blew his stack. Yeah, I did know that. Jesus, yeah, that Vince Senior gave Hogan the name Hogan because he wanted to be Irish, and he was already booked as Hulk, and then I think originally they booked him as the Incredible Hulk Hogan, and then Marvel Comics actually sued them, and I think WWF had to pay Marvel Comics a small percentage of Hulk Hogan merchandising as a thing. Who was he back? Oh yeah, yeah. Hogan had that thing with Bubba the Love Sponge wife, which is a bummer to me. I hated the whole reality Hulk Hogan stuff. Like when Hogan did Hogan's No Best, Hogan Knows Best, and he was just kind of this like, I don't know, like regular dude. I like the character Hulk Hogan. I didn't want to see the real. I never wanted to see the real guy. But anyway, I actually ordered a Hulkamania shirt because I was watching all these videos and I was like, hey, I don't have a Hulk. I should have at least one T-shirt, like a Hulkamania shirt. So I went on, and I bought it from Hogan's store, not the WWF store or WWE store. I was like, I can wear that to bed, or I can wear that on the stream when Faster Blade asks what I'm wearing. Yeah, I agree. He totally ruined himself with the reality bullshit. Also, going out with that terrible Randy Orton match, and I was there. I went to see that live, Hogan versus Orton, at SummerSlam '05, I think it was. It was terrible. Because I think I think everybody was trying to capture the feeling of seeing Rock Hogan. No, I haven't watched Dark Side of the Ring, and I want to. A lot of people have told me to watch that, and I'm real. Not only am I not, I'm really into documentaries, but I definitely want to start watching that. It's on my list. I absolutely want to start watching. A lot of people are telling me about that. Yeah, that looks really good. That keeps coming up in my suggestions too. Fallujah, I love Perry raging about After Hours making all the money. Tonight it was off the chart. It was all. It was to the point where I thought he was going to murder me. Like he was. It was really laid on thick tonight. The whole After Hours thing. I mean, it was like there were the comments were like Porsche, Tesla. I mean Lamborghini. I mean it went on and on and on. I mean it was just. He was completely checked out at the end. It was another shutdown. That's the thing about a good documentary. You don't have to be a wrestling fan to watch them. What was that one that came out in like the early 2000s or late 90s? Behind the Mat or something like that? Like I remember seeing that in the theater, and I had not been into. I wasn't into wrestling at the time, and that kind of got me back into it for a little while, and then I got out of it again. And I can't watch it now, but I just love that era. And I've really enjoyed like going on YouTube and kind of like reliving some of these things. That's why I was asking today in the Discord if anybody had Peacock Premium and how it is, because I kind of want to, and I know they're probably all heavily edited, but I kind of want to watch some like old school stuff just to kind of zone out to. I don't give a fuck about basketball. I watch The Last Dance religiously. Exactly. Exactly. But anyway, I think we should call it a night or call it a morning because it's after 6 a.m. And I'm always in zombie mode on Saturdays anyway. But I know I didn't do an After Hours on Wednesday. People were actually mad. Can you believe that? People are actually mad at me. Not mad. They're like not nobody called me an asshole, but they were like, which I always find funny. Like people were like, "Oh, did you really not do After Hours? Like what? Oh, you must have been mad, or you must have like Perry. There's some conspiracy theories. Like, wait, listen, I can't guarantee one every time, and I think I might actually go to a thing like no After Hours on Wednesday rule because it actually made my Thursday a lot easier. Oh, is Vice behind the Dark Side series? I didn't know that. And apparently, there's this like, speaking of Bret Hart, there's this Bret Hart documentary that the WWE did that was very negative towards Bret Hart, but it was at a time where Bret Hart wasn't really cool with the WWE. And then all of a sudden, Bret Hart came back to the WWE and did some in-ring stuff. And they nixed the negative one and then did a new one where it was more favorable to him. But I really want to see what that negative one was. That's another wrestling bios I saw was the end of Bret Hart's career. And to be perfectly honest, I was never a Bret Hart guy. I mean, I liked him enough, but I was never like big on him, and I was not watching when like the Montreal Screwjob happened, so I didn't see that. They did one on Ultimate Warrior. I'll tell you what, I fucking hate Ultimate Warrior. I've always hated Ultimate Warrior. I hated him when he came in. I hated everything about him. For me, when Ultimate Warrior came in, like the younger kids were into Ultimate Warrior, like the real younger kids, and I thought he was a joke. But I read things that Ultimate Warrior, like the guy, said about Bobby Heenan, because there's actually another wrestling bios. He did a quick like 15-minute piece on Bobby Heenan. I think Bobby Heenan deserves longer than that, but Ultimate Warrior was saying shit like, I'm glad Bobby Heenan got cancer. Bobby deserved his cancer. I hope you died in pain. You ran your mouth and you got what you deserved. And God is, you know, thank God. God gave you cancer and took away your voice. Like, holy shit. Like, really, like, just fucking vile stuff that this guy was saying. So if I hated him then, I mean, fuck him and anybody that could possibly get any entertainment value from Ultimate Warrior. Mumbles, I never expect an after hours, but if Tom says definitely there won't be one, get ready for another 4 hours minimum. I know. I know. I know. Have you ever watched the Anvil, the story of Anvil about the rock band? No. I know. I hated that Hogan lost that WrestleMania to Warrior, and then look like Warrior clearly couldn't carry that belt. It was such a mistake. Hogan should have. See, I think I've heard Hogan say that he wanted to turn heel against Warrior back then, but Vince didn't want Hogan to turn heel. And again, Hogan's an unreliable narrator, but I believe him on this, and I think that would have been a very interesting thing at that period of time, 1988. Hogan turning heel against Warrior, I could have really got behind. But yeah, the guy, Warrior's out of his mind. Like, if you ever read his writings, he rambles like a madman. Just an absolute madman. Tom, it's 6 a.m. your time. I know. And I've been going since, oh, jeez. It's been a long day, too. But yeah, Warrior. So I don't think there's too many fans of Warrior. Like, there's nobody that'll defend Warrior now. I agree. I thought I don't know if Kurt Angle was underrated. I thought most people respected him a lot, and I think he was always a better heel. Also, I had this. I know. I would totally get you eggs, Jesus, if you're in New York. I'm totally in the mood for like a diner breakfast. Um, I saw this great clip. Speaking of wrestling, today for some reason because they just pop up in my feed, and it was really sweet, and it must have been in between commercials. I like a Raw taping where the rest, like, it was, so they basically went to commercial and they were just doing stuff outside the ring, and it was Triple H. If you could probably find it if you look at Triple H little kid. There's this little kid that's like giving Triple H guff, and I wasn't watching it. I don't like Shawn Michaels. I'm never a Shawn Michaels guy, but it was Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, and this little kid in like the front row is like giving Triple H shit, and Triple H is in full heel mode, and he's going right back at this kid, and this kid's like 4, 5 tops, and Triple H gets a chair like he's gonna hit the kid, like he's really going at him, and the kid is going right back at him, like he's like. Triple H is not breaking character at all. He's going after him, and then Shawn Michaels, to his credit, comes over, takes the chair out, and then picks the kid up, and then runs around the ring with the kid in his arms. And then the referee is actually getting involved and like pushing Triple H away, and they're all doing this like routine during the commercial break when there's no TV audience, basically making this kid's life, and this kid's got to be like it's got to be the incredible. So that was really cool to see, like the way stupid wrestling can make a moment like that and really play it up and not. So it gave me a. I actually like Triple H a lot, but it gave me a lot more respect for him. Even Shawn Michaels, who I don't like. My Mount Rushmore of wrestlers is Hulk Hogan, number 1 with a bullet. Roddy Piper, Randy Savage, Ric Flair. Even though I was never a WCW guy, I put him in there because he's just so good. That's a. How many people are on the Mount Rushmore? Is it 5? I'm hard pressed to think of a 5. Those are my absolute tops. You know who I gotta say, not as a wrestler, but just as the character. I loved Million Dollar Man. I loved the whole gimmick of Ted DiBiase, the Million Dollar Man. I loved it, and I also loved Honky Tonk Man as the Intercontinental champ. I liked. So really, I can go on and on. It's Ricky Steamboat, but the the Hogan, Piper, Flair, and Savage is my definitive answer. And then with a lot of people after that, and then like the more modern era, and for me, the modern era stops in like 2004. I did like Triple H a lot. I like Randy Orton, um, and The Rock, respected, but I didn't really watch their era. Like I didn't really watch the Stone Cold era. Like so I can't say them. I was kind of checked out at that time. Warrior was like Frankenstein's monster. That's a good way to put it. It's true. Perry said he was going to go to the skate park on Monday, Belushi. I don't know about tomorrow. Just woke up. Don't know shit about wrestling. This is what After Hours is all about. Yeah, we give you an education on wrestling from 30 years ago. Bam Bam Bigelow. I was never big on him. Belushi had a belt early on Wednesday too. Oh, you didn't see the thing. We never got to the bottom of the Tony Cox thing. I'm still confused right now of like the Tony. And I will say that it's so. Oh man, just so brilliant. Wait, here, this bird's out. It's probably a bad sign. I don't know what he was talking about. Like, what other Tony Cox is there? Because I always thought he was confusing Tony Hawk's as this little kid, but he said Tony Cox's birthday. And in my mind, I always picture a little tiny kid version of Tony Cox at this big picnic table outdoors. Like, I have that whole thing mapped out in my brain, that whole Christina Applegate thing where it's outdoors under a set of trees, and it's a picnic table with like a covering over it, and Perry runs over to catering and gets a piece of cake and Tony Cox, like the Tony Cox from like Bad Santa or something, but like a younger version, is like sitting at the head of the picnic table with a big like birthday party hat on, and like everybody has like birthday party like paraphernalia, and Perry like just intrudes on this set, and these people have been working on the set for months, and they're about to wrap, and Perry shows up for his little bit, and he just takes over. Because I've heard this from Perry, the guy Steve Byrne, who's a comedian. He's actually a really good guy. The guy who put him in Sullivan and Son. He was telling me a story once about like when Perry was on that set, and again, if you've ever been on a set, which sounds douchey to say, there's certain rules for catering. Like there's usually a catering truck or like some kind of catering, and you go and you get a lunch break or a dinner break or whatever, and the leads, the A-list stars, they there's a line of people waiting for food. You got your whatever there is, a carving station, a sandwich thing or whatever, and then but the leads, the stars, they can cut the line and it's just accepted. They cut the line, get their food, go back to their trailer. And Steve said, yeah, when Perry came to the day of shooting, and he was just an extra on Sullivan and Son, which is like a TBS sitcom, which wasn't bad actually. Perry just played a background extra, like the worst background extra ever. Like I'm talking like like Pee Wee Herman when he was the bellhop in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Like he's looking at the camera and stuff, and anyway, he totally cut the line. He cut the line at lunch and he cut the line at dinner. Like he just goes right up to the line and cut to get his plate of like turkey or whatever they were selling whatever they were serving. So with that in mind, I always had that envisioned where Perry just cut the line at this birthday party, wiggled his way into the main table where Tony Cox was, and this picnic table under trees, and there's all this like party stuff on the table, and he cuts the line to get the cake, to get the first piece of cake to offer to Christina. That's that, like I have it like I can close my eyes and picture it like as if I was there, and. Goes over and like Tony Cox and everybody's a little perturbed. Like, hey, who is this guy? Like, we all know each other. We've been working on this movie for the past, couple of months, but this guy just shows up today and all of a sudden he's the one that's going to get this piece of cake and offer it to Christina Applegate. Like, what are you kidding me? Like, what's going on here? So, I'd like to be, somebody asked earlier, like, what year I'd like to go back to. I of course it's 1992. What am I thinking? I want to go back to that 24 hours. I want to be in Total Clips Productions. I want to see everything and hear that interaction, and then the next day I want to be on the set and see how he behaved there. But yeah, the Tony Cox thing completely perplexed me. Tony Cox is 7 years older than Perry. I don't know. Excuse me, Mr. Cox. Could I just interrupt your warm, lovable birthday? And then starts to cry. Yeah, Belushi says, I'm just so honored to be here. And I know it's your birthday, and I don't really believe in birthdays, but you have no idea what I went through to be here, and I'm just so honored. I'm so honored to be on this set, and God, yeah, I'm sorry. Perry makes that like Christina gave him a polite no thank you. It could have been like angry, like no thank you, or like no thank you. Somebody please remove this man. Helicopter going by. He jump out of a moving vehicle to get noticed by a woman of his desire. That is true. Perry is the kind of guy who sneaks into a wedding if somebody doesn't know and gives a roast. He would. Like we talked about earlier, he has balls of steel. Again, when you have somebody who's completely bereft of shame, anything goes. Anything goes. Perry blew out the candles so he can give Christina the piece of cake. That's great. I want to see an animated version of that. Oh man! All right, we should call it. We should end with Tony Cox on the birthday. I'll ask him more about. Maybe on Sunday we can get to the bottom of the Tony Cox thing, because I am so confused by that the other night. Because Tony Cox showed up at the door. I mean, if you weren't watching, it was a media share that Belushi sent in. It was a beautifully done ring cam thing with Tony Cox like at the door, and then runs out of patience and leaves. And I had said to Perry, I was like, "Is that Tony Cox?" He's like, "That's not Tony Cox." And he goes, and then he goes to the door and he's like, "Hey, Tony, I'll be right there." And he's gonna answer the door, and like, of course he's not there. And then I think there was a neighbor that walked by, and he was like, "You see a little, I forget what he said. You see a little guy walking around?" He's like, "No, he's not here." He sits back down, and then we have this conversation. And he's like, "That was not Tony Cox." And I was like, "What are you talking about? That's not Tony Cox." He's like, "Tony Cox is a little Mexican kid." And it confused me so much, because I always thought I never thought Tony Cox was in that movie, but I just thought he thought Tony Cox was in it. Now, just throw this other wrench into the works, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to know, to be honest with you. I was just so confused between that and then the which I was afraid was over the top, the dinosaur, the raptor, the velociraptor in the hallway, because I saw that, I was like, oh, well, the game's over now. He's like, that's bullshit, But actually, to be fair though, the thing about Perry is he could say that's bullshit, and then the next thing could be I don't know, whatever, rhinoceros walking by, he'd be like, "Get those fucking animals out of my apartment complex." But the beautiful thing about the dinosaur was like, that's a guy in a costume. Like, it was just, it's so ridiculous. Anyway, it's just, I mean, that's probably going to run out of gas at some point, but it's incredible. I still, hardest I've ever laughed. I mean, I've laughed quite a bit recently, but the one that I laughed the hardest at, where I had to make sure I was muted, like, and couldn't come back until I could breathe, was "Did you see a zebra?" And also the one where the two guys were walking by and he said, "Did you see a gorilla or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it went that way," and he went charging, charging down the hall. But the first one where he was like, "Did you?" He stopped the guy. He stopped the guy. He was like an Uber Eats delivery guy, and he was like acting like he was some kind of authority figure. He's like, "Who are you? Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just He's like, "All right." Then he let him go. He goes, "Wait, did you see a zebra?" It's just, it's so stupid. But man, yeah, those two guys played it perfectly, though. Those other two guys. But anyway, guys, we'll end it there. We'll end it at 9 hours and 30 minutes. Vimeo is giving me such a hard time. I think I told you that about the I don't know, all the uploads that go to the Patreon. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll figure something out. Because like 3 days a week, I'm uploading files that are crazy long, and they're like, "Oh, you're exceeding your bandwidth on your unlimited account." I'm like, "Okay, what can I tell you?" So anyway, good night, guys. I'll see you on Sunday. Enjoy your Saturday, whatever you guys are doing. Sorry. Good night, guys. Thanks. Yes, hopefully, yeah, I think I will sleep well. And I'm sure Perry. And again, I got to deal with him tomorrow because he was so pissed at me tonight. He was so mad. When you watch the ending of Evolution, it was so over the top with the After Hours riches that I was just like, oh man, he's just gonna blow. He's gonna call his cousin in the morning, and it's gonna get really ugly. So, but thankfully, I think it was just at the point where he just wanted to leave. So anyway, we'll pick it up on Sunday, and I'll see you then. Have a great Saturday. Thanks for hanging out after hours. Bye.